Welcome, Lund loyalists, YouTubers watching on John Lund Unleashed and the Bay Area Sports Collective. Those watching on X and Instagram and listening on Apple and Spotify. It's John Lund Unleashed and JohnLundUnleashed.com. Brought to you by Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Right now featuring amazing stem cell technology. For all your pain and for the guys, check out the latest in low T and testosterone therapy to make you feel like yourself again. Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center at riopelcosmetic.com. Now, all juiced up and ready to go. Here's Johnny.
And pretty damn close to on time. I think all week long we've been, it's 8:07. Not the best. Good morning. Friday, right? Happy Friday. Man, are we loaded. Look at the chalkboard. Episode 81. If you're new for the Bay Area Sports Collective, thanks for joining us. I think I put a G there. B-A-S. It's B-A-S-C. That is pretty much on brand for the show. B-A-S-C, Bay Area Sports Collective. Thank you for joining us. John Lund with you. Man, a ton, as you can see on the chalkboard if you are new to the program. The chalkboard is everything. We try to stay to the chalkboard the best we can, but we have a ton to do today. We'll do roll call in a minute to our John Lund Unleashed. Make sure you subscribe to all your friends and enemies. Click the like button. The algorithm likes that apparently. And you put your alerts on because last night, for example, I was up late, which is why I was on the chat after I posted the show. I was on the chat going, where is everybody? It was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was finishing up the Nosa for Bosa's piece that I did at johnlundunleashed.com. There's that one. And I will tell you why. Oh, that's Bosa bookend. Hold on, wrong one. Here you go. No, wrong one. I don't know. I must not have it. There it is. 49ers should say Nosa to Bosa. I just have tons of stuff laying around here. Story of the day, Nosa for Bosa. I will tell you why, and maybe you'll be upset, or maybe be like, yeah, I get that. I can throw a bunch of numbers at you and everything, and we'll see if that's what the 49ers do. I heard Matt Mayoko say this, and I think it's true. Nothing makes sense about Joey Bosa to the 49ers. Seriously, it doesn't. But for some weird reason, I just think it's going to happen. So we'll get into that conversation, but it is episode 81. And again, thank you for coming over from the Bay Area Sports Collective. If you don't know what that is, it is me, Tom Tolbert, and Polly Mack. We have teamed up, the three of us, and we do this thing called Bay Area Sports Collective. Jeremiah Crow is part of it as well. He used to run KNBR. Daniel Ogden, one of our producers. Of course, Creative Tony is on with Polly every single day, and we're just doing a bunch of shows. We got a website out there. We're creating all sorts of stuff. It's just going to get better and better and better. But if you have not subscribed on their YouTube channel, on our YouTube channel, please make sure not only are you in John Lund Unleashed, but Bay Area Sports Collective as well. And check that out on YouTube. We got a website, all that kind of stuff. So make sure that you get on that. And we'll be on each other's shows, as they say, cross-pollinating. And it'll be a lot of fun. So make sure that you stay tuned for that. So we got a couple of things to get out of the way before we do the roll call. But let me hit the chalkboard. So Bay Area Sports Collective, Nosa to Bosa's. I'll tell you about that. Pros and cons on that whole thing. It's free agents on Monday. Free agency starts in the NFL on Monday. One other programming note. The great Larry Kruger and Krug is the master of the draft, master of disaster when it comes to the draft and free agency. So Sunday night, we're going to do a dual cast, he and I, and his channel has blown up and has for years. Larry Kruger, the Krug Show. And so Sunday night, make sure you're here because we will preview Heavy Petting Monday, and then they'll put pen to paper a little bit later. But basically, Adam Schefter has the whole thing wrapped up by 10 a.m. And it always cracks me up because people constantly hit me up in every single sport. But Lund, that would be tampering. And you can't tamper. Like, I'll give you Vlad Guerrero, which I have a Vlad up there, which I'm going to talk about for a minute today. But I was talking about Vlad to the Giants, and the minute that the Blue Jays said no, I would have been right in there with Vlad. If I was Buster, whatever deal they won't give you, I will. And then a bunch of people hit me up, but Lund, that would be tampering. Like, there's no tampering. When guys signed NFL contracts at 12:01, wow, that's a negotiator. He got that deal done in a minute. Wow. There's no tampering going on there. But anyway, we'll get into that. So pros and cons, free agency Monday, Kruger and I Sunday. Can they spend? And I think they can to a certain extent. So I'll give you a guy at each position of need today for the 49ers that I like. And we do have to be, well, no, we don't. I was just going to say we have to be realistic, but we really don't have to be realistic. We can do whatever we want, but there are certain parameters on the Niners. John Lynch doesn't want to spend all those kind of things, which is an issue with Joey Bosa, but I digress. We do have to get to Steph Curry and how he's dominating road arenas. And I got great stories for you in that because I covered Jordan back in the day. And you just don't see it very much that fans realize, and they don't even realize they realize, if that makes any sense. Fans don't even realize that they're just so enthralled and a player is so great and at that level that they're cheering for that player. There was MVP chants. We'll play that for you, especially the half-court shot. And when you think you've seen everything from Steph, you haven't. So looking at that, they were 22 down in that game. It says 20 down, but they were down 27-5. That is impressive to get that win. I'll play a video from Sir Charles last night. And as much as I get upset with him on the San Francisco stuff, and we talked about it over the All-Star game and over the All-Star weekend, but he did come back. He donated $250,000. It's Charles being Charles, all those kind of things. But I don't know how he and the folks at ESPN are going to coexist next year. And I worked for ESPN, as I've told you many times, for about 10 years. It's going to be a real challenge. Like Pat McAfee, that's a challenge, that whole situation. But it is going to be a major, major challenge for everybody. And then you got Stephen A. right there. I put that on the cover today. He's going to make $20 million a year. It's $5 and $100. So I'll kind of roll that all into one with Charles, and I'll play that video for you. That's going to be interesting. Justin Verlander was great. People got upset with me yesterday because I'll throw his numbers up there. I'll save it. Just Verlander. We're going through the chalkboard, so I'll have to give you that. Vlad Jr., we have his number. I still would have paid it if I was the 49ers. The Giants. Screaming A. Got that for you. I want to ask you about the poll today and then random. That always happens throughout the show because I look over at the chat line. Somebody's talking about food or travel or any other kind of thing, and it throws me for a minute. And as I tell you, if you're new here, we try to stay on the road of the chalkboard. We're driving. And then all of a sudden, somebody yells in the back, I got to go to the bathroom. And that's what the chat line is. And so then I take that exit. We stop for a minute. We don't think we're going to stay long. But then one kid wants Subway. One wants McDonald's. Somebody's got to, all these kind of things happen. And then we get back on the roadway, which is the chalkboard. So, and a lot of people tell me, I think I told this story earlier in the week. A friend of mine, Dan, we were at dinner on Friday night, I think it was. And we were talking about the show. And he goes, no, because I asked him something about, well, what do you think? When I go on these tangents, what do you think of that? And he goes, no, it's my favorite part. He goes, you got to do more tangent. And so we got to have more cowbell. So we got to have more tangent. So we'll see. We'll see. It just depends on the day. I don't plan any of those kind of things. So that's what's going on today. Roll call in just a second. But I want to tell you about my good friend, Dr. Jeffrey Riopel. He is they are the fine sponsor of the program, Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center in San Ramon. And if you're in the East Bay, first of all, you got to go there. If you're not from the East Bay and you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't know. I'm doing that testosterone treatment, as you heard in the new open. I'm doing the testosterone treatment, which is absolutely great. Makes you feel like yourself again. If you've looked into testosterone treatment, you're not feeling quite yourself. Maybe you got the spare tire rolling, you can't get rid of it. Those kind of things. Those are all signs of low T, which I had. And I didn't go in there like Barry Bonds, like everybody says, and do anything. It's not about that. You're getting blood work. He's a doctor. You're going to go in there. He's not going to give you what you don't need. It's going to be the proper dose. And you're not going to have to go in every week. You've probably heard that. I got to go in and get these shots every week. It's just one fell swoop, and you're good for about 5-6 months. It's great. So if you've looked at testosterone treatment, Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, plus my wife, I've told you, is doing stem cell there. And her shoulder, her knee. So if you got pain, I was talking to my friend, his wife has some neck pain. She's gone in there. They all feel great. So stem cell is where it's at as far as your pain is concerned. Don't live with it. And the easiest way to do that is, you see that QR code that's on your screen right now? Click that QR code, take you right to the website, and you can make an appointment right now. Do that if you've got the pain going on. And plus, they do all the other things that you would expect a cosmetic surgeon, a laser center to do. So they are one fell swoop. They are one-stop shop. You're going to look great. But I'm doing the testosterone. My wife's doing the therapy. So make sure that you check that out, the stem cell therapy. Make sure that you check that out, my good friends at Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. All right, before we get out to and start talking about a million things that we got to do today, let's acknowledge, as we do every morning, the chat line, and that is John Lund Unleashed. John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. You can check that out. And that's where our great chat room, great community that we've started to develop here. So at about 3:02 a.m., you can see there, I said, where is everybody? Hit me up for the first time. Let's see, 4:59. Baba Booey was up early. Hurley Bird up early as well. Tacky, I'm a little worried about Jeff. Where's Jeff, man? He's usually the first one in there. Hello, Walter. That was at what, 7:49? I don't know if Walter is still with us. He's the fine. Hello, Malfow. He is the fine producer of my old program at KNBR. Wes is here this morning. Clement, hello to you. Skills report is awesome. Vernon, John Holmes, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Daniel, two Daniels are in here today. Always great to talk to my friends. Bucko Sports. Franco's got the Lund. Sorry, I don't know why this is just intrigues my eyes every single day because I'm zipping right through all these things as fast as I can. So if I miss somebody, I apologize. Joy said I missed her. East Coast Red and Gold podcast, my East Coast 49ers people. Make sure that you are subscribing to their podcast. It's an absolutely great podcast, not because I was on there, just because it's a great podcast. AJ, Pine Needle, Todd, awesome to see you this morning, everybody. Happy Friday to you. Let's see. I already said hi to Walter. I'm not doing that again. Todd, Sunshine Steve. I don't know if I've seen Sunshine Steve. Greetings from Santa Cruz. Steve, I got to tell you, I was in Santa Cruz not last weekend. Was it last weekend? I think it was a weekend before. Incredible weather about 2 weeks ago. I'm sure you know because you're from Santa Cruz. At the end of the pier, I've been to Santa Cruz a million times. Never been to the rotating bar. Kind of freaked me out because I had too much to drink, which is not that all unusual. Jake is here today. Scott is here this morning. Did I already mention Tacky and Bucko Sports? Great list. We're starting to see more and more names who came over from Bay Area Sports Collective. So very, very cool. So good morning to everybody. If I did not acknowledge you, I'm sure I will at some point. But good morning to everybody. We appreciate you hanging out today. All right, a couple real quick things we're 11 minutes into the show, so we got to get moving on stuff. But if you are new, there you go. San Francisco Chronicle did this yesterday. 3 well-known Bay Area sports broadcasters have come together to launch the Bay Area Sports Collective, an all-digital podcast network focused on delivering fresh commentary. So we have podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever it's your favorite podcast. But if you go over to Bay Area Sports Collective, please give us a like, a follow, all those kind of things. Because Tom's show's there, my show's there, Holly's show is there as well. I'm here 8 to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday. I will be here tomorrow, Saturday at 10 a.m. We just do like a quick hour on a Saturday just to check in because you can't take 2 days off. This is not like radio. It's like stuff's going on, especially on the weekends. So we don't take days off. We take Sunday off, the Lord's Day, of course. And after that, and then that's what the logo looks like. That's what Barrett Media did. Jason Barrett actually used to run 95.7 right at the beginning of it, but that's what it looks like. That's the logo. If you're looking like I'm in the right place, yeah, you're in the right place. So there you go, Bay Area Sports Collective. And one more thing, and then we're diving deep into spots. There you go. I've got a new hat on today, and that's our good friend Mike. Is Mike here today? Because I'm giving Mike all sorts of credit. There you go. Gone fishing. There is the John Lund Unleashed bucket hat. And I need to get a report from Mike. Because what I did was when I put together the store, there was a lot of cheap stores and stuff like that, and I didn't want to go that route. And so it's high quality stuff. So thank you to Mike for getting the John Lund Unleashed bucket hat. And it does look like he's fishing. That looks water. Is that water behind him? I think it is. So there you go. I have the brand new Unleashed trucker hat. It's a high quality trucker hat because I got one before, which they're good. And I owed Lund Loyalists them. It's just this one's the black. They have one that has a white back, but it's a nice hat. So anyway, all right, I'm done promoting everything. Let's dive into things very deeply. All right, I just couldn't get enough of the bucket hat. All right, let's start with why I said Nosa for Bosa. Nosa for Bosa. There's a few different reasons here. And we're going to get into free agency in just a second, and it's going to kind of dovetail behind it. But that's where we are right there at the top. Nosa for Bosa. Now, from a name standpoint, if you just said Bosa's on either end, of course you're going to be intrigued. We've talked about Bosa's opposite each other. We know that ever since D Ford departed, or I shouldn't say departed, limped out of the 49ers plans, that it's been one after the other. Leonard Floyd's not bad. He's not bad, but it just hasn't been consistent enough. I would love it if they could get somebody like a Khalil Mack, and he can be on the outside, and he's great against the run, and then you move him inside, then Leonard Floyd can be on the outside, and you have that kind of NASCAR package thing going. But I'm gonna take both sides of this, all right? I'm going to take the positive side of Joey Bosa. I'm going to take the negative side of Joey Bosa. And then Friday's big poll is, do you want dueling Bosas? Do you want Bosas times 2? Do you want bookend Bosas? Whatever Greg would call them, whatever Papa's going to call them in a game, is that what you want? Now, I'll give away I was going to give away the end, but I won't. Let's just play people's court, and let's just see if Joey Bosa is a fit. All right, let's just do that. Now, from a positive standpoint, Joey Bosa, I'm not going to get into the negative stuff first. From a positive standpoint, Joey Bosa is only 29 years old. He was the 3rd overall pick of the 2016 NFL draft. He was Rookie of the Year. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's a little bit bigger than Nick. He's listed at about 6'5", 270. He's a little bit, you can just see it. He's just a little bit bigger, where Nick is a little bit more compact. So when Joey's going, he's against the run, he's against the pass, he's got the work ethic of Nick. They're the same. They're very much the same. Of course, their dad, John Bosa, played in the league. So they're about football 24/7, 365. So you just look at the history of Joey Bosa. He's a Bosa. He's had a ton of success in the league. He's just like Nick, been reared in football early in his career. Technique, work ethic, all those kind of things. Joey Bosa has got all of those things. So when you think Bosa and Bosa, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, there's no doubt that we would want it. It seems like, and I don't know if this is a factor at all, but Mama Bosa wants it, and Joey Bosa wants it, and Nick Bosa wants it. So I had this in my video yesterday, the short video and the piece at johnlundunleashed.com, and it's Mama Bosa doing this. Please, let's do a petition to get this thing going, and she's got all these things, but it's got an AC/DC song in it. And so when I posted this, they're like, YouTube was going to give me a strike. No, you got to take that song out. So I'm not going to play it for you, but I'll play these two things. So here is Nick on the Richard Sherman podcast, and he and Richard are laughing it up about potentially having Bosas on both ends.
Any chance, you can tell your brother, hey, calm down, California, you're used to California taxes, just come up north, don't worry about finances. I mean, who's worried about
Joey is definitely looking good financially, but I think him on the other side would be I think it might break the NFL.
All right, there's Nick saying it might break the NFL. And as far as the finances are concerned, and this is going to be a big key, and we'll get into this, because Joey Bosa is not going to get the biggest contract with the 49ers, not even close. Joey Bosa has made $143 million in NFL career earnings. $143 million. Now, I tell you this all the time. If you're new here, this is just a philosophy of the show, and it is 99 out of 100 times right. It's always about the money. I know I just said 99 out of 100, and that's not always, but damn near close to always about the money. 99 out of 100. Joey Bosa, though, has made $143 million. So does he value playing with his brother more than getting the biggest contract? We'll get into that. But the pros of the whole thing is Joey Bosa has a history. Joey Bosa has a work ethic. Joey Bosa is a leader. He's got 73 career sacks. He has 4 seasons which he has double-digit sacks. He's a 5-time Pro Bowler. He's a Bosa. He works. He leads. He's going to do all those things, and it's going to make Nick happier to have him on the other side. So there's a lot of pros to Joey Bosa, and that's the side of it. Oh, and Mama Bosa wants it, and Nick Bosa wants it, and I think there's that. That was last year. Chargers Joey Bosa would be cool to play with brother Nick. Remember, this was him. He was, as you look at the second paragraph there, it says, it'd be cool at some point. I always thought of myself as being somebody that will play or retire here. This was when he was redoing his comp last year. You never know. I'm going to worry about this year first. And, of course, that was last year in which he played in 14 games last year. So the injury problems, not so bad. All right, let's go to the cons because that's part of it. All right, so the cons for Joey Bosa before we get into the financial side of things, which is kind of, we'll see. But the cons to Joey Bosa, as you probably know, are this. Availability is the best ability. When the 49ers, and you know this, but I'll just remind you, when the 49ers are healthy, they go to NFC championship games and Super Bowls. That's just what they do. When they're hurt, 2020 and last year, they go nowhere. 6-11 last year. The 49ers hate injured players, and I don't use the word hate a lot. Not in my life, not in the show. They dislike it. They hate it. Now, everybody hates it. I get it. But when they're healthy, they go to NFC championship games and Super Bowls. When they're not, there is no in-between with Kyle and John. None. There is no in-between. They either go into NFC championship games and Super Bowls and they're healthy, or they crash and burn and everybody's hurt. That's just been the way it is since these guys have been around. So they hate injured guys. Okay, cons on Joey Bosa. He's always hurt. And if he's not always hurt, then he's not always playing. So previous to last year, in which he played 14 of 17 games. In the previous years, as a Charger before that, he played in 55% of the games for the Chargers. 55. Just barely over 50%, 55. That's what he played in. The previous 2 years, he played in 5 and 9 games, respectively, before he played in the 14 last year. So he misses a lot of games. Not good. 55% is what he plays in. And when he plays in a game, he plays in 49.6% of the snaps. Now, that's by design, I'm sure. I didn't watch all of the Charger games last year. I watched a handful start to finish. But what the Chargers were trying to do, I'm sure, is to say, okay, let's just make him a situational guy. Let's try to keep him healthy. He played in 49.6% of the snaps last year, even though he played in 14 of 17 games. Nick Bosa, when healthy, even though the defensive line rotates, routinely when he's healthy, he plays in about 90% of the defensive snaps. Even though they rotate defensive linemen in, Nick plays a ton of snaps. So, yeah, Nick missed 2020, had the injury, but by and large, and he'll have a muscle strain here and there just because he's got monster legs. But he'll every once in a while, and he's banged up, and he plays hard, and it's the whole reason. And same with Joe. It's not that he's in shape or anything like that. I don't even know if I'd call him injury prone. It's just football, and they play it at a certain level and a certain speed, and you just get hurt playing that way. And so that's the way Joey Bosa has played. So while Nick has played in about 90% of the defensive snaps and has generally been healthy as a 49er outside of 2020, Joey Bosa has been in and out of the lineup, and when he is in the lineup, at 29 years old, the Chargers decided last year, let's just try to keep him healthy, and they played him in less than half the snaps. Availability is the best ability, and Joey Bosa has not been available. The 49ers hate injuries. Everybody hates injuries, but the 49ers hate them worse than most because when they're healthy, as I said, NFC championship games and Super Bowls, when not, crash and burn. So Joey Bosa doesn't stay healthy, and that's a major, major issue for the 49ers, especially given the fact that there are other edge rushers out there, and as John Lynch said, they've got to be judicious, I tell you, with their money. They're not going to spend a bunch of money. John Lynch told us at the NFL Combine, we want to get younger, we want to get cheaper. Now, he didn't use the word cheaper because that's a bad word, but when you get younger, you're trying to get cheaper, and that's what John Lynch meant. Younger, cheaper. Okay, Joey Bosa is not old at 29. He'll be 30 in July, but he's an old 30 because he's been hurt a lot. So he's not younger. He's probably not cheaper. He's not all that productive. He's had 14 sacks the last 3 years. 14 sacks the last 3 years for Joey Bosa, and he hasn't had a double-digit sack year since he had 10.5 in 2021. Am I talking you out of it yet? Because the name conceptually, if I sit back, close my eyes, and go, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa, I get excited. I'm thinking to myself, wow, in theory and with the name Bosa, it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. But then you start delving deep into 14 sacks in 3 years, 55% of the games, 49% of the snaps last year. Hasn't had a double-digit sack year since 2021. I want to give him his accolades. 73 career sacks in 9 seasons. Awesome. 5-time Pro Bowler, Rookie of the Year, 3rd overall pick. He's a Bosa, so work ethic is not an issue. He's not lazy. That's not why he's getting hurt. He plays hard. That's why he gets hurt. He's bigger than Nick. He could be better against the run. So there's positives, negatives, and it's going to come down to the finances. But let me just show you one more thing. Pro Football Focus is not always 100% accurate, but it's pretty good. And when I show you here in a moment the top 10 edge rushers in the league last year, while you may not agree with everything that they do, you go, that's probably the list. So let's do that. So these are the top 10 edge rushers from last year, according to Pro Football Focus. The blue number right there is the overall grade. The grade next to it, so in Aiden Hutchinson's case, 94.9 overall is his grade. 70.6 is the run grade. 95.0 is his pass rush grade. And then 46.6 is coverage. I don't care about coverage. I don't want any of my edge rushers going backwards. I'm doing the offensive favor if I'm doing that. So I want my edge rusher going forward. So the last number, I don't care. I care about overall grade, first column. I care about run grade, second column. And I care about the pass rush grade, third column. And Hutchinson there has a 95. So overall grade, 94.9. Does that make sense? So Hutchinson, Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, Nick Bosa 4th, Khalil Mack 5th, free agent. Micah Parsons going to get paid. Jared Verse, Rookie of the Year. Alex Highsmith, Pittsburgh. He's more of an outside linebacker type, but still, he's an edge rusher. Will Anderson Jr. in Texas, or in Houston. And Trey Hendrickson, which we can talk about for a minute. Trey is seeking a trade right now because the Bengals have to pay T. Higgins. They have to pay Jamar Chase. They've already paid Joe Burrow. Like most teams in the league, like the Niners, the Bengals have said to Trey Hendrickson, go for it. Go look for a trade. He's 30 years old, has no more guaranteed money left on his contract. And right now, I know what you're thinking. I'm anticipating it. Maybe you are, maybe you're not, but I know you are. You're thinking to yourself, whoa, okay, not Joey Bosa. What about Trey Hendrickson? The amazing part about Trey Hendrickson that you may not know because not a lot of people talk about him. He's 30 years old, 1 more year left on his deal, no more guaranteed money. He has the 3rd most sacks in the NFL over the last 5 years. Myles Garrett 2, TJ Watt 1. See the guys who are 2 and 3 on that list? TJ Watt, the most sacks over the last 5 years. Myles Garrett 2, Trey Hendrickson 3. Love to have Trey Hendrickson. He's going to be really, really expensive, and I don't think the 49ers can afford him. I'd rather have Hendrickson than I would Bosa. They're roughly the same age. And Trey Hendrickson plays hard as well. He just hasn't been hurt. He's been available. What's the best ability? Availability. He's been there. 70 sacks over the last 5 years, which is 3rd in the NFL over that span. So there's your top 10 edge rushers from 2024. Khalil Mack, by the way, free agent. Would love that. Okay, so you're thinking to yourself, where's Joey Bosa? Where's Joey Bosa on that list? Come on, Lund. Give it up. All right. You don't want to see this. There he is. 2024 edge rushers, Joey Bosa, 72nd. And to just put this in perspective, he played 14 games, so it's not a small sample size, but only played in half the snaps. So 61.1 is his overall grade. 60s, a number in the 60s at any position for PFF, not good. 67.4 against the run, which he's generally better. And 64.8 overall. I don't care about him going backwards in a 60.5, but 64.8 pass rush, 67.4 against the run. Overall, 61.1. That's not good. That's not good. 72nd among edge rushers, all right, for Joey Bosa. He is, I have it right here, 61st against the pass, 42nd against the run is Joey Bosa. There he is. And as I showed you before, Nick Bosa's 4th. All right, so there's Nick Bosa. So there's the contrast. 4th, 72nd. All right. So Joey Bosa wasn't good last year. He is 30, which isn't old, but he's getting older. He played in less than half the snaps with the Chargers last year, despite the fact that he played in 14 games. Over the last 3 seasons, he has 14 total sacks. Hasn't had a double-digit sack year since 2021. I love the concept of the Bosas. I want to love it. I want him to be on the same team. I want Papa to be able to go, a Bosa, whatever, a double Bosa, or whatever he's going to yell and scream and come up with. It's all great. Conceptually, it's all great. But if I showed you those numbers and didn't have the name Bosa attached to it, you wouldn't want anything to do with that guy. You'd be like the 72nd edge rusher in the league who's going to turn 30? No, don't want it. Trey Hendrickson's going to be 30, and he has 70 sacks over the last 5 years, and he's rolling. And he plays hard. I don't know how he stays healthy and Joey Bosa doesn't. So I'd love to be on board with Mama Bosa and Nick saying it's going to wreck the NFL, and Mama Bosa saying let's start a petition and all these kind of things. Conceptually and in name, it's a great idea. But if you take the name Bosa out, then you have no other conclusion to come to, in my mind, then 49ers should say Nosa to Bosa. By the way, part of this whole thing is, you like Nosa to Bosa? I didn't think so. But they should say Nosa to Bosa. I'm going to stick with it. I don't care. I don't care what you say. I know you don't like it, but Nosa to Bosa. I wish I had better news. But in just taking that's not even a deep dive. That's just looking at PFF and looking at the numbers and all those kind of things. So if you want an edge rusher, we'll go through this will take us right into a free agency conversation. If you want an edge rusher, if you want a Chargers edge rusher, you're going to do a lot better with Khalil Mack than you are with Joey Bosa. It's not as fun of a story. But if you look right there, 4th is Nick, 5th is Khalil Mack. 90.2 grade, especially good against the run. You can see 87.7, 78.9 against the run. Or 78.9 against the pass, 87.7 against the run. He's 5th. Now, Khalil Mack, who's 34 years old and hasn't missed games, he's 34 years old. He's durable. He's probably going to cost you a lot of money, though. That's the problem, is that love to get Khalil Mack, but Khalil Mack is probably too expensive because what does John Lynch want to do? Younger, cheaper. Khalil Mack, 34, and probably not cheap just based on those numbers. You would think to yourself, well, he's 34. They went after him once. Maybe they could get Khalil Mack. I doubt it, but he's there. And if I was going to get a Chargers bookend, if I was going to grab an edge rusher from the Chargers, it would be Khalil Mack and it wouldn't be Joey Bosa. So I just made a compelling argument. If you love the Bosa story, if you think he's going to bounce back, the positive side is he's only 30 years old. He's going to be 30 in July. So when training camp rolls around, he's going to be 30. Maybe he can stay healthy. If he can, then great. And then the final thought on this whole thing, and then we'll move on to free agency, and I want to get your thoughts on Joey Bosa. I've just painted such a rosy picture, so you're probably like, oh, can't wait, is the financial side. If Joey Bosa wants to say, okay, I've made $143 million in my NFL career, and I just want to play with Nick, there's a logical side to this. And the logical side is the 49ers go to Joey Bosa's representatives and they say, look, you only had 5 sacks last year. You've got there's issues with you. You only played in less than half the snaps. We'll give you an opportunity to play in 75, 80% of the snaps. Prove that you can stay healthy at the age of 30. You play a 1-year make good deal with us, say $10 million, which is a lot to you and I, but for edge rushers, Max Crosby's making over $35 million a year on his new deal. $106.5 million, $91 million guaranteed. So, and it's a 3-year deal. So Max Crosby, who's I think 27, so only a couple of years younger than Joey, gets this massive deal. The only way Joey Bosa becomes a 49er is if somehow the organization can convince him and the Bosa family, maybe Mama Bosa has this huge influence over her sons. Maybe he's a mama's boy. I'm going to close that and lock the studio now. But maybe she just has this influence that says, come on, we got to do this just for a year. Now, I wouldn't because he's been injury prone. You never know. I told you it's 100% about the money. So this would not be about the money. So there's that sliver, small, tiny sliver that would make it not about the money. So maybe this is that one extremely rare case where the 49ers could convince Joey to say, look, we'll give you the opportunity. You got to play opposite your brother. He got paid $25 million last year with the Chargers. We can't pay you near that. We can't pay you market value. There's no way we can pay you what you think is market value. Maybe his market this year, even with the numbers I just gave you, some team is going to be desperate. Edge rusher is a premium position. They hear the name Bosa teams, their ears perk up. He does have history. If you look at the history of it, like I said, Pro Bowls, double-digit sacks, 3rd overall pick, rookie of the year. He's got the accolades. He's got the resume. He's got the name. He's got the work ethic. He's got all those things. He's a Bosa. So there's going to be a team out there that I bet would probably give him $20 million a year, not 25 or 30, but approaching year 30, age 30. I think a team would go out there and say, okay, we'll give you 20. I think the 49ers could afford 10 on a 1-year make good deal. Okay, Joey, play with Nick, have fun, have a great year, kick some ass. We'll give you the opportunity. Chris Kuceric's here. You get to train with him, all those kind of things. You're a Bosa. We want the leadership. We want the locker room guy, all those things that Joey Bosa can provide because it's not nothing. So with all the numbers I just gave you, it's not a rosy picture. With all the games he's not playing in, with all the snaps he's not playing in, I've not given you a rosy picture of Joey Bosa becoming a 49er. Other than, wow, the name is cool. Bosa, cool. Pizza, Bosa, Bosa. That's really the only thing. If you'll play for $10 million, and this is where the caveat I want to put on it before you answer the question and I go out to the chat line on Nosa for Bosa is, and you can tell me how bad that name is, but I'm sticking with it no matter what you say. If he plays for $10 million, do you do it? I know that's a lot of money. I get it, but let's keep into perspective that the going rate for great edge rushers now is $30 to $35 million. Max Crosby has established the $35 million. So for an elite edge rusher, $30 to $35 million. So I'm saying, look, Joey at 10. That's all I'd have to offer if I'm the 49ers because John Lynch said, and it's always lying season, but John Lynch said, they want to get younger. They want to get cheaper. Joey's going to be 30, and he's probably not cheap. If I'm Joey, just personally speaking, saying all the time like I do, it's always about the money. I can't afford it because I have an injury history. Yeah, I made $143 million, but most guys, they want to pile money upon money as long as they can because the career is short. So I don't think he would take a discounted deal, but maybe Mama Bosa is just pounding the table for it. You will take this deal, Joseph. Maybe, I don't know. I don't even know if she calls him Joseph when she's mad. Joseph, you will take this deal. And he's like, okay, Mom. He's a 30-year-old man. He's probably not going to do that. So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense for Joey Bosa to take that. It really doesn't make sense for the 49ers because of what I just said, availability, playing less snaps, not being effective, all the just different things that I just gave you on Joey Bosa. Pro Football Focus says he's the 72nd edge rusher a year ago. That's not good. So all those things I just gave you do not point towards dual Bosas. But for some weird reason, in the back of my mind, and I heard Matt Maiocco, or I read where Matt Maiocco said, I would be surprised if it didn't happen more than if it didn't happen more than it did. That's what he said. In other words, he's saying, I think it's going to happen. But he's like me. It's just, there is no sense here. It makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense from Joey's standpoint to take less for an injury-prone player. And I don't even want to call him injury-prone because that's not fair to a guy who works as hard as he does. This is bad luck. He plays hard. So for a player like Joey, I don't think you can mess around and say, I'll just take a year at $10 million and then go back out. It's football. You could rip an Achilles. You could have a major injury and you rip up your knee, whatever. It's such a physical game that you can't just say, I'm going to take a year and play with my brother. It's a great story. Bosa, great story. But I don't see him doing that. But in the back of my mind, I still go back to what a cool story it would be for the Bosas. And maybe they will. Maybe the parents will just say, hey, man, you don't get this opportunity. You got a bunch of money. Just do it. 49ers offer him an opportunity to say, look, you get double-digit sacks this year across from your brother. And then on the other side of your brother, they're not across from each other. I know that's semantics, but it's like he's not across. He's on the other side of. But you play on the other side of. You have a great time. These guys went to the same high school prep in Florida. Didn't play together, went to Ohio State, missed each other, have not played on the same field as teammates. And so maybe that's a big deal to these guys. I don't know. I'm not in either's head. Nick wants it to happen, but Nick's not taking the pay cut. Nick's making $30 million. Hey, Joey goes to his younger brother. You give me like $5 million out of your salary. You make 25, and they're going to offer me 10. I want 15, say at least. My ego can't handle 10. Nick's not giving him that. I mean, is Nick going to give up money to Joey? I doubt it. So that's the story I give you. Just a hypothetical after all the information I said and gave you. I say Nosa for Bosa because I don't think he'd take that money. But to make it a little interesting, to make the poll today a little spicier, because I gave you information that says at $20 or $25 million, that's a ridiculous signing by the 49ers, who are tightening up the belt, by the way. So that doesn't sound like it makes any sense. But let's say Joey says, you know what, I do want to play ball. I do want to play with my brother. I do want to reestablish my value. I'll play for $10 million. Which I don't think you're going to get an edge rusher, a quality edge rusher opposite Nick Bosa. And Leonard Floyd's okay. But a 3-down edge opposite Nick Bosa, I don't think you're going to get one for less than $10 million. If he would play ball, would you want Joey Bosa? That's my question to you. And then I'll go out to free agency in just a second. So that's where we are on things. Nosa to Bosa is what I'm saying on the chalkboard. Pros and cons I gave you. Free agency is Monday, and I'll do that in 1 second. But I just laid out really everything in great detail with fancy videos and slides to you of why I don't think Joey Bosa is a fit in name only. A couple of years ago, I know on the radio I got excited about it, but I don't see it. I don't see the fit, and I don't think Joey's going to say yes to $10 million. But what I'm hypothetically throwing out to you is, what if he did? What if he did? Would you want him? All right, let me see what I got going on the text line here. I did not say hello to Joy this morning. Good morning. I did not say, yeah, GSAC, what do you think? I don't think he would do it for $10 million. I'm just throwing it out. And I know that's a lot of money to you and me. You're like, $10 million? But when a guy's making 30, 35 million now in Max Crosby's case, edge rusher is probably $10 million. And he's got some upside, but I don't love it. Let's see here. What do we got? Anybody want a Bosa reunion? Injuries, defer the contract. Unfortunately, in the NFL, well, I shouldn't say that. In baseball, you can defer. In football, you can. I mean, you can do some things. But what's interesting is for example, and I did this the other day, and I don't want to make the eyes the eyes in your head roll back and just like, oh, Lund's doing numbers again. Start crying and whining and everything. I get it. But they owe more than $60 million to contracts to players who are no longer on the roster. And that's part of what John Lynch was talking about. They spent $344 million on the roster last year, most in the NFL. $344 million. And so now You got Hargrave, who is not going to be here, and that's going to cost him about $8 million. Ward had deferred money and all this kind of stuff pushed back. He's still owed $12.9 million. Eric Armstead still has money on the cap that's dead cap this year. That's part of the whole thing. People forget about it. They think, okay, well, Charvarius Ward is gone and Armstead is gone. And, and again, they're not literally paying them any money. It's just on the books. There's still money from players. There's dead cap money now for Debo, $31 million, offset by his salary this year. I don't want to get too deep into it, but it's a net loss of 15. And then everybody thinks that Brandon Ayuk's going to be traded. He's got an $18 million dead cap. Boom, that'll hit the cap. It'll be offset by his salary, but that's a loss of $11 million if they do an Ayuk trade. So it's all fun and games, and we love to talk about it. And I hate talking about the finances of the game. I hate talking about the business side of the game because I just want to talk about all these other things around it. But guess what? We have to talk about today, Brock's contract. It's interwoven into this thing now. It is part of the jambalaya. It's part of the stew. It's part of everything, is that we can't get through a show, unfortunately. And I got a lot of great stuff for you today that is not related to business or finances or this and that. A lot of great stuff, the Curry stuff, all these things. But as part of this whole thing now, just in sports, we have so much information available to us that we did not used to have. We can go to Spot Rack. We can go to Over the Cap. We can go we know the numbers. We know what they say. And so then we put everything together and we make a decision, and we look at Joey Bosa and we say, well, geez, the finances of it and the injuries and the lack of production, and Pro Football Focus says he's the 72nd edge rusher while Nick's 4. What about Khalil Mack at 5? Mack's going to cost you a ton. Trey Hendrickson's out there. So there's the other part of it is there are a lot of options. Now they're going to be expensive. Trey Hendrickson is a $30 million edge. $30 million. They can't spend that opposite Bosa. They can't. You can't. They're not going to have two $30 million edge rushers. Myles Garrett, to me, and I've been pounding the table, Myles Garrett. I'd trade 11 for Myles Garrett like that. But then you got to give him a contract. He has no more guaranteed money left on his deal. So I'd love Myles Garrett. Realistically, he's not an option for the 49ers. The way that John Lynch just said, they're not going to sit there and go pedal to the metal constantly. They just spent $344 million on this roster, and Jed York's ROI, return on investment, was nothing. And so that's where we are. And I've said this before. It's like Joe Lacob. Joe Lacob will spend and spend and spend until he doesn't believe he's a contender anymore. And when Joe was a 10th seed earlier this year and they were spinning their wheels, and I truly believe that Steph Curry was going to ask for a trade in the offseason if they had stayed that way, all of a sudden, one Jimmy Butler later, and Joe was going like this, contract extension for Jimmy, no problem. My hands are too low, so you can't see. But he's just flipping out money. He's at the bar making it rain. Because they are in a window he still fills, and he might have a case for it. Jed York is asking the front office, okay, guys, when we're a contender, I'm cool with it. When we're not and we're 6-11, then I got to ask questions. And and that's what John Lynch kind of got across to the media is, we'll see. And if they get off to some start or whatever, then, he may change his viewpoint. But he's saying, look, the drunken sailor days of giving Ayuk $30 million and he's pissed about the deal, and I get it. And I've been saying this for days. I think there's a piece out there today. I've been saying it for days. I've told you. He's pissed about the contract. Steve Young said it on the Rich Eisen show. He just wants to make sure. And they're going to get thrown against the wall on this whole Brock Purdy thing. It just is what it is. So anyway, that's the latest on Joey Bosa. I give you a long version of that. I agree with you, Jason. The Bosa family does not take discounts. In fact, that might be a burner for like John Bosa, the dad. The Bosa family will not take a discount. They might not. There's ego involved, all those kind of things. I mean, it's, again, for you and I, and for documentaries and great stories and things like that. Woohoo, the Bosa boys playing together. That's a great story. Joey's has made $143 million. So they're thinking to themselves, oh boy, we're looking at it going, he's set for like 10 generations. He's fine. He can take less money. And he's thinking to himself, I'm 30. This is my last bite at the apple. I'm not doing anything like that. That's what I think it would be. So anyway, there's the latest on that. Let me just make sure we don't have anything, because I'm going to go into free agency here in a second, and we'll double check on everything. Yeah, I just think that's what I think it comes down to. Joe Schmo, Niners can't afford. I don't see it. I'm sorry. Was it me that killed your or skills? Skills. He may. Okay. Again, that's the random hit of the whole thing. Dead cap means Jed has to spend less money. Well, yeah, it means that they're going to have less cap space. Now, if you want to, as they use this term all the time in the NFL, I didn't make it up. I'm just regurgitating it because everybody does constantly, kick the can down the road, put it on a credit card, whatever term you want to use. They can keep doing that. What Jed York is saying is, what am I getting back? If I continue to spend this money on these players, and Nick is fine, but it was a long negotiation. Brandon Ayuk's deal got done August 29th of last year, a month after training camp started. The only thing I'd say to Jed on that is he didn't have to do that. And I never understood why they did, because there are certain positions that have leverage, but receiver isn't one of them. Lots of them come into the league every single year. I think that they panicked. I don't know, Kyle running up the stairs, whatever the case may be. They panicked on that whole thing. They didn't need to give Brandon Ayuk that kind of contract. Now, having said that, I just want to remind you, and I do this every day, because of dummy money in these contracts, it was reported at a 4/120 at $30 million a year. So his agent could go, woohoo, I got Brandon Ayuk $30 million. He's all excited. It's a 3-76. All you got to do is go to one of those websites I told you about, Over the Cap, Spot Rack. It's 3-76. That's what's guaranteed. They have an out after the third year. It'll cost them $9 million to get out of the deal. And Brandon Ayuk's fourth year cap number is $42 million. Not playing on that. Not playing on that number. It's just not happening. So if they want to rework the deal after 3 years and they're happy with each other, cool. But he's entering year number 2, in which he has a cap number at about 11. Next year, it's around 16. They've kept this thing in these dummy numbers and the way that they can manipulate contracts. It's not a bad contract, to be honest. Debo's was like 3-72. DK Metcalf, who's screaming and yelling to get out of Seattle, he signed to 3-71. Terry McLaurin, he's on a new deal, but the one previous was 3-71. So it's actually in line, a few more percentage points just based on, he was the latest, not the greatest, as I always say. He got a few more bucks extra, but it's very similar to the Debo deal, the DK deal, the McLaurin deal, guys who were his peers, roughly the same age. So they didn't overpay for him. I just think it was the perception that he got out of money. And if Jed doesn't like those deals, he's really not going to like the Brock Purdy deal. In fact, let me do this really, really quickly. And I want to get to free agency because it ties together better. But there was a story out, I think I saw it on the Eisen show. Yeah, here's Albert Breer, who I really, really like. And I'm not going to make fun of him. It's just this is a report when somebody doesn't know what they're talking about and they're asked about something and they have to say something. And I like Albert Breer. He is a great NFL insider. Been on my radio show plenty of times. Does a bit with a radio station in Boston. Just a really good guy. Really great writer. He took over the Monday morning quarterback from Peter King. I'm just using this as an example, but here's what he said about Brock Purdy's situation on the Rich Eisen show.
The other day.
Yeah.
Albert.
I think the Niners would like to keep it in the 4s and Purdy's camp would like to have it in the 5s. I thought initially there's like a good chance, like, do they try to do what they did with Jimmy and just speed up the whole thing and get it done in January the way they did with Garoppolo all those years ago? And they've been through this before, of course. I think that they weren't able to kind of get some traction early shows there is a little bit of a divide between the sides right now. And it's going to take some time to get through this. What you hope is with your quarterback that they aren't going through what they went through the last 3 off seasons in a row right now, right? Like where it was Debo in 22, it was Nick Bosa in 23, and it was Brandon Ayuk last year where those things lasted all the way like deep into training camp.
All right, no new information as far as I'm concerned there. Of course, we've talked about it a million times. Nick Bosa's deal was in September. Brandon Ayuk's deal was a month into training camp, late August. The MO for the 49ers, since John and Kyle have been around, Fred Warner's deal was done late in July, his extension. So was George Kittle's. Debo was done on August 1st, the year he signed it. They have had this philosophy of they're just, deadline spur actions. It's a business term, deadline spur actions. Well, in Brock Purdy's case, it's different. You got to have your leader on the field. He's got to be throwing with his guys. He's got to be, Brandon Ayuk can't go full bore. But I tell you this all the time. The telepathic nature of the position of wide receiver and quarterback is fostered in the offseason. They throw together constantly. They're talking that whole time. If he's playing outside leverage, inside leverage, if that's being shown, if this is being shown, then they get on the same page. Because once training camp hits, man, you're talking about that a little bit. But it's more executing what Kyle is asking you to do in a kind of a frenzied way. And then the games start, preseason games and all those kind of things. And it's not that you can't practice on the side. It's just you don't have as much time. So in the offseason, and you see this all the time, the quarterback foots the bill to go to San Diego or Phoenix. Not Phoenix. It's hot as hell there, not Phoenix. like San Diego or somewhere nice, and he flies all of his guys in there, his skill guys, and they all stay on his dime for a week, and they throw the ball a ton, and people think they're just kind of screwing around. But what they're doing is they're going through situations and scenarios where they say, look, when I'm being chased by 300-pound men who want to rip my freaking face off, and I've got to scan the field in 2.2 seconds, 2.1 to 2.2 seconds, and I've got 4 or 5 guys in a route, and I've got to read what everybody's going to do, I got to get rid of the ball. And Brock Purdy has to get rid of the ball quicker than most. And so he's going to say, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. It's why Debo's not here other than the finances, because Debo couldn't do that. But Ayuk can, a healthy Ayuk can, a healthy Jennings can, or he'll just go up and get the ball over guys. And a healthy Ricky Pearsall is supposed to be able to, and so can George Kittle. They're in the right place at the right time. Well, how do you get that off season? When you're going to yourself, well, Brock could still participate in the offseason. No, he couldn't. His agent won't allow it. His agent will literally put him in a cage. No, he won't. He won't put him in a cage. That's illegal. But he's not going to step one foot on the field with $50, $55, $60 million in line. Not going to happen. Now, as far as what Albert Breer said right there, he didn't give you a whole lot of new information, and he kind of stumbled and stammered at the beginning. The number for Brock Purdy, and I told you this yesterday, is going to start with a 5, at least, if it doesn't start with a 6. The 49ers reportedly offered a number that started in the 4s. That's how negotiation works. If you want to get to a 55, you don't start with a 50. You don't start with a 55. You start with like a 45. And what I think is happening is Brock's camp is asking for a 65. Niners are saying 45. They want to get to 55. That's what Trevor Lawrence signed, and average annual value. That's what Jordan Love signed. He's not as good as Joe Burrow. I understand that, who's at a 55, but that was a couple of years ago. So he's going to get that deal. He's going to get a deal in the 55 range. There was an absolutely random, weird, I think I have it here somewhere, story today, and I think it's made up, and you'll probably, because everything gets to us. Let me see if I have that one. Everything gets to us, so people are going to freak out about this. So before they do, there is no rhyme or reason to any of this. Let's see if I have this story on. Maybe I don't. Maybe I didn't put it in. Bottom line to it all is there was a story today by somebody I'd never heard of who said that the Tennessee Titans and the Niners are talking about the number 1 pick, and I'm like, they're not. I just don't see it. Oh, here it is. I just don't see that. So there you go. Tennessee Titans. The 7 would trade Brock Purdy to Tennessee, overall number 1 pick. 49ers had choices. Blah blah blah. Somebody named Marissa Myers. Never heard of her. A, I don't think the Titans would do that and then give Brock a big contract. B, I don't think the Niners would. What are they going to do? Take Cam Ward? Are they going to look at Sam Darnold? I haven't heard anything of this rumor. I think it's made up. I think it's on the internet. I think people are going to read it and make it a big deal, and it's not. So they're paying Brock, and the number is at least going to start with a 5. That's what I think. And there's no new news. Nobody knows anything. That was just stumbling and stammering, especially at the beginning, and no offense, but it was a bunch of stuff that we already know. All right, so we're at the Nosa to the Bosas, pros and cons, free agency Monday. We're going to get to that now. And Kruger and I are going to do a free agency show on Sunday night. So here's the deal. All right, let's go to free agency just because it's Monday. And everybody loves talking about the draft. Oh, the draft. I get it. I really do. I understand the draft completely. I understand the fascination about the draft. The obsession about the draft is a word that I think I would use. But right now it's about free agency. So let me just look at a few positions. And I popped these up the other day. But let me just look at, this is from The Athletic, their top 10. So let me give you a few positions and give you a couple of guys from each list that I think are attainable. Would I love to get the top guys on every list? Yes. Will they get the top guys on every list? No. The salary cap went up. I understand that, but it went up for everybody. And there are a few guys on this free agency list that I'd love to have. I just think are going to be too expensive. Keeping in mind that even though it's lying season 24/7, 365 in sports, I'm going to take John Lynch at his word because I've heard this, that the 49ers want to get younger, which means cheaper, and Jed York wants a better ROI, so they're not going to go crazy. And keeping in mind that Brock Purdy's got to be re-signed, George Kittle's got to be extended. There's a few things they got to get done. They would like to participate in free agency, so I'll give you a little bit of what I'm hearing too. But here are a few positions in no particular order, just as this is how I put them into the system. So wide receivers, T. Higgins, too expensive. Chris Godwin, too expensive. Stephon Diggs is wacko. Keenan Allen, I just don't think fits. I know he went to Cal, but he's really slowing down at 33. DeAndre Hopkins, it sounds like he's retiring. I don't love Amari Cooper, but keep in mind that what I'm thinking about for a wide receiver here is, I'm assuming for a minute, ask you me, very dangerous, but I'm assuming for a minute here that Ricky Pearsall is going to be in the slot. Juwan Jennings will be on one side, and they need an X wide receiver, but they only need one until Brandon Ayuk comes back. So it's not a long-term thing, and I don't think a rookie is going to suffice. I know you're thinking, well, get a rookie. Rookies are hit and miss. Rookies in my world are lottery tickets, and I'm not sure that I can rely on a lottery ticket for the 49ers. So Amari Cooper makes sense. I don't think he's going to cost a ton of money. He's a veteran guy. He can replace Ayuk for a while, and then he can be a really good receiver if, say, Ricky Pearsall doesn't step up. Darius Slayton's an interesting name. Gesicki's more of a tight end. Moore and Brown, I think, are too small. One name that is not on there, I'll go off the board, Monty. I don't know why I went Monty on my talk show host, but I'd go off the board for Brandon Cooks. He's 31. He's been played for a number of different teams. He still has good speed. He's from Stockton, went to Oregon State, West Coast guy. I just think he makes sense. And again, I'm not saying anybody's perfect. You might want to go rookie route. I understand that. They're not going to be in the ballpark for a Devontae Adams, far too expensive. Obviously, they're not trading for DK Metcalf of the Seahawks, who's requested a trade. Cooper Kupp the Rams would not trade him here. Plus, they wouldn't take that contract. Would they talk to Cooper Kupp should he become a free agent, which it sounds like he's going to? Nobody's going to pick up that contract. I would. Teach Ricky Pearsall to play everywhere. Put Cooper Kupp in the slot. You want Brock Purdy to be good? You want a precise route runner? You want somebody who's going to be in the place that they're supposed to be? That's Cooper Kupp. So we'll see what Cooper Kupp does. So there's some issue. There's some guys from a receiver standpoint. And again, finances are a big part of the issue. Guard is going to be another position. And you see Aaron Banks there, 9th. I read a piece the other day, and we talked about it a couple of days ago, that some people were saying he's going to make $18 to $20 million. That's going to be a disappointment for that team. But with so much money in the NFL right now and the cap going up, these guys are all going to get paid. So I don't expect guys at the top. The dude from the Colts, Mekhi Becton, isn't really a fit. Macari is an interesting one from the Ravens. He went to Cal. Tevin Jenkins has been hurt. The name that I like on that list is number 7, James Daniels. Now he's coming off an Achilles injury, so I don't love that, but that probably gets his price down. He's 27 and he's a mauler, so I wouldn't mind him. That would be the name on that list, and I don't know that he'd be too expensive, but again, those guys are going to be more expensive than you think. I've said this before as far as centers go. I would have loved Drew Dahlman. Chris Dahlman played with the Niners. Drew Dahlman went to Stanford. He's only 26. He's going to get paid. I heard like $15, $16 million. Niners don't have that kind of money. Don't like anybody else on that list. I am sick of Jake Brendel being on his butt, but I just don't think that there's a center there that makes a whole lot of sense. Myers is just okay, and he's 27. I could see them looking into it, but he's going to get overpaid as well. So I don't love any of those names on that list. They need interior defensive linemen. Again, Monday free agency starts. Milton Williams not happening. He's going to get overpaid. He was with the Eagles. Some team, and this happens every year, like the Jaguars or somebody with some money or the Raiders who need it, will overpay for the guy because he played in the Super Bowl. DJ Jones is the name that many people go out. Will Jones be too expensive? He's number 4 on that list. Wouldn't mind him coming back to the 49ers. Poona Ford played for the Seahawks for a long time. He's been effective. So there's a couple of names on there. Calais Campbell is almost 40, near at the bottom. Wharton of the Chiefs. He's undersized, really good pass rusher. He's going to get overpaid. I think he had like 8 or 9 sacks this year. He's going to get overpaid. So it's not a great list. But the reason I bring up defensive tackles is, yeah, they could use one. They could use a defensive tackle. There's no question. And they'll probably draft one. Daniel Jeremiah says there's 24 starter grades on his defensive tackles this year in the draft. Last year, he only had 12. So it's a good year for drafting defensive tackles. I wouldn't mind a veteran. If DJ Jones is going to come at the 49ers number, that would be a nice addition. He knows the defense. He knows Chris Kasarik. He can stuff the run. I know he's 30. He's a couple of years older, but he's still pretty solid. So DJ Jones on that list. I don't like that he's 4th. That means he's probably going to get overpaid, but it's not a great list. All right. Here's where we come to the edge rushers. Okay, so we went over the whole Joey Bosa situation. Hendrickson's not on this list because he just asked to be traded. He's not truly a free agent. Josh Sweat, same thing as I just told you about Milton Williams. He's going to get overpaid by somebody. I thought maybe Khalil Mack, because he was 34, might be something where the 49ers could get into that arena. I doubt it. because he was so productive last year. He's 34, but he doesn't miss games. Malcolm Kuntz is an interesting guy, overpaid probably. Young, no. Reddick doesn't fit. Lawrence, no. The interesting name on that list, Azeez Ojulari, who's 25 with the Giants, has been a guy, and I think he was a second-round pick out of Georgia. He's not exactly what the 49ers normally love, but again, if you're going to take a flyer on a guy, and Chris Kuceric and the way that he can yell, think Arden Key. When Arden Key came aboard and he had that pretty good year, Ojulari is a guy that I think has some upside, and that might not be a bad thing. And you're looking at this list going, it's not a great list either. Trey Hendrickson, I just don't think they're going to be on. I'd love Khalil Mack, but if he's rated that highly with all the money that's in the NFL, he's probably going to be out of the 49ers range. Now, here's where it gets really interesting to me. Zach Bond is already re-signed with the Eagles, so he's off the board. So the top off-the-ball linebacker in free agency, according to The Athletic, is Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw, you look at the age at 28, but he's coming off the Achilles injury. And from what I understand, the 49ers are trying to hold firm. And it's not Brock that they're holding firm on, because they know what they have to pay. They've known that ever since Brock showed promise. They knew they were going to have to pay. But this is where I think Jed York gets into a bit of a jam, where he says, okay, Fred Warner, who has a $29.2 million cap hit, they're going to have to restructure that deal. But they look at Dre, and they'd love to have him back. Love to have him back. But only played in 34 snaps, has an Achilles, which is the toughest injury in sports right now to come back from. So they look at that situation, they say, God, we'd love to have him. But if you're the top off-the-ball linebacker, bunch of crummy teams out there who have money, flush with money, they're going to look the other way to a certain extent on Dre Greenlaw's deal, and they're going to give him multi-years. And then Greenlaw's people are going to come back to the Niners and say, he wants to be here. He loves it here. What do you think? And I think the 49ers are going to say no. I think they want him at their terms, on their terms. And I think that Dre Greenlaw is going to be a former 49er early next week. Ernest Jones is nice from the Seahawks. I don't know why Nick Bolton is ranked 4th. My obsession is Jamie Sherwood, who played with Robert Saleh with the Jets last year. He's only 25, had 154 tackles, can play special teams, super fast. He's going to be overpriced, I believe. But if there was one draft crush, you could say, okay, who's a semi-realistic guy? I'd say Sherwood. I'd love to have Sherwood on the 49ers to replace Dre Greenlaw, but I think he's going to be too expensive. Nobody else on that list I love. Wagner re-signed in Washington. Kendricks said no to the Niners so he could go to Dallas. Kazir White's just been okay with the Cardinals. He was better with the Eagles, but I don't love him. If they could afford Bolton, that would be unbelievable. Could you imagine Bolton and Fred Warner together? But again, I think it's going to be too expensive. All right, safety-wise, and again, we're going over free agency because it starts on Monday. And Larry Kruger and I, we're going to do a dual cast on Sunday night. Sunday night, Krug Show, and right here on John Lund Unleashed. And we'll do a dual show about free agency, but we're quickly going through it. As you can see on the chalkboard there, free agency is Monday. So we're quickly going over it. There's your corners. Ward not coming back. He's got PTSD. I've heard DJ Reed's name, originally drafted by the Niners, and of course with the Jets, with Saleh. Undersized, but they can definitely use a corner, and they can definitely use a veteran. So they may selectively say, okay, we're going to splurge on one guy, kind of like what the Giants did with Willie Adames. I'd like him to do, a few different guys because they need it. But DJ Reed's name's been thrown out. I think he's going to be too expensive, but if not, Reed on one side and Lenore on the other is nice. Then you bring in Renardo Green as the third corner. You move Lenore into the slot, and you got 3 really good corners. Plus, you have an adult in the room. Because to me, Renardo Green, second-year guy. Lenore's really, really good, but still young. Mustafa's their strong safety. He's going into his second year. And Jair Brown, who I don't trust, is going into his third year. That's a young secondary. So if you can bring DJ Reed along, that's not a bad idea. Okay, so let's move to safety. Talanoa Fungo, way out of the 49ers price range. He's only 25 years old. Love to bring him back. But they're targeting the 4 and 69. Nice. 4-year, $69 million contract that the Packers gave Xavier McKinney. The Niners won't be able to afford that. Love, if I could do another guy, I keep saying this. Javon Holland is a Bay Area guy. Safety for the Dolphins, went to Oregon, like him. Mooring is a guy that has grown on me with the Raiders, and he's gotten better. So either of those guys I would like. Probably too expensive. I know you're getting sick of that. One wild card who's sitting at 10 that I would keep my eye on there with the safeties. Julian Blackmon was a 3rd-round pick by the Colts out of Utah. He's a nice player and had a nice year. the 49ers were flirting with him a little bit last year. So that might be a name. They may re-look at that one. He's 27. He's a younger veteran. But I really would like if the 49ers could get a veteran safety back there. Jared Brown just makes me nervous. So there you go. I went through all of them. I went through all the positions. I went through free agency. If you like a certain name or hate a certain name that I mentioned, just let me know. But that's kind of a quick precursor to Monday. And then Krug and I on Sunday night will do a little bit of a deeper dive on that. But as you see right there, free agency Monday on the chalkboard, Krug and I on Sunday. After that, it says, can they spend? Well, they can spend. It just depends on how much they want to kick the can. It just depends on how much they want to put on the credit card. It depends really on them going to Jed York and John Lynch, who told the story before about how they went to Jed about Javon Hargrave. And Jed said, will it help us win? And John Lynch said, yeah. And he said, okay, we got the money. We'll do it. I don't expect the 49ers to be day oneers just because what we keep hearing out of 49ers land, which is we want to get younger, which means we want to get cheaper. And Jed is sick of getting pushed against the wall. And they've got to sign Purdy and they've got to extend Kittle. So there's some of these things. They're going to lose guys in these scenarios. I think Dre Greenlaw is gone. I'm pretty 99% sure Hufunga's gone. I don't think there's going to be any day oneers. They're going to restructure Fred Warner. They're going to do some cuts. I mean, you saw in Seattle yesterday, they let go of a bunch of guys, including Draymond Jones, who's a complete free agent bomb up there, and DK Metcalf wants to be traded. And that was a 10-7 football team last year, so they might take a step back. But the 49ers have to do that. There's a number of guys, and I did this the other day, and again, too many numbers means you're going to leave me. I don't want you to leave me. But just say Yutor Gross Matos, Kyle Juszczyk, Jordan Elliott. There's a number of guys on the defensive line that can be released, and they can save $1 million here, $1 million there. They can spend some money if they decide, if they're and they are talking right now. So don't give me the stuff about that would be tampering, Lund. You know, they have talked to Khalil Mack's agent. I'm sure of it, and they said nope, too expensive. They have a general idea. Sherwood, the Jets guy, they know what the Greenlaw market is. They already know when guys sign at 12:01 a.m. in free agency, and Adam Schefter on the Monday of free agency starts, that's only supposed to be about heavy petting. And Adam Schefter basically has free agency done in 10 minutes. It's not amazing agents. They're all out there right now, and they're all gauging the market. They got their numbers guy, and John Lynch is sitting around there in deep meetings right now going, okay, this is the market for all these guys. They know what it is. Right now, they know what it is. Now, there might be a wild card or two where a Drew Dahlman, who I think is going to cash in, or a guard is going to cash in. That happened last offseason. You know, Jonah Jackson, Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis, all these interior defensive linemen got all this money, and that's going to happen again this year too. So it's going to be tough. Aaron Banks, I read a story, maybe this is not going to be true, is going to make $18 to $20 million, and he's not even good. So, and I like the guy. He's from the Bay Area. I remember doing an interview with him when he got drafted. He was stoked. He's just probably too slow-footed for this offense, but they've got to put somebody in there. So, and everything is not going to come through the draft. You're probably thinking to yourself, some of you, hey, Lund, they got 11 picks in the draft. They'll be fine. They're going to move up and down. There aren't 11 spots. So they have to do some selective buying in free agency is what I would call it. They have to do some selective buying so that they can fill some holes and they're not totally relying on the draft to make everything work. So there's a few of the names. If you love it, if you hate it, let me know. So this is a good time to take a quick break and look at the chat because I've gone over Bay Area Sports Collective. That's not supposed to be a G. It's supposed to be a C in episode 81, going to the chalkboard. Nosa to Bosa. If you missed that, we will host the show, and then you can go back through the chapters and go through it. But Nosa to Bosa, I gave you all the numbers on that. I gave you the pros and the cons. If you'd like to read about it, by the way, I want to make sure you know this. Go to johnlundunleashed.com. I was up last night a little bit late because I did the video for the story of the day, and then I wrote the piece. So if you go to johnlundunleashed.com, that's what you're going to see. 49ers should say Nosa to pairing up Bosa. There you go, right there. So the pros, Joey's had a great career. He's only 29. The Bosa's won it. There's Richard Sherman's giant face. And Nick Bosa was on there saying that they would wreck the NFL. There's Joey, would be cool to play with Nick. And then there's the cons. Availability, best ability, lack of production. I gave you the edge rushers. Those are the top 10 in the league. Nick's 4. There's Joey Bosa at 72, on and on and on. So you can read it yourself at johnlundunleashed.com. Plus, we have the fancy video right there last night. Maybe that's 7 or 8 minutes long that I explained that, and that's your story of the day. So if you want to go to the website, Go to johnlundunleashed.com and you can check out Nosa for Bosa and why it came to that conclusion. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. Wait to the end of the show, or you can go back now, but wait to the end of the show, and then I'll post it, and then we'll put the chapters up, and then you can just click on whatever the heck you want. So we go through a bunch of stuff during the show. If you're new here, thanks for joining us. Maybe you're from the Bay Area Sports Collective. You're like, love Tolbert, love Paulie. What's this Lund dude? I remember him with Papa never getting a word in edgewise. What is he doing? So there's the chalkboard on that. Nosa to Bosa, pros and cons, free agency Monday. Kruger and I are going to do a show Sunday. Can they spend? I told you they can have selective spending. And here's the thing about the cap, and we all know this. If they think somebody's going to slip through the cracks and they really like that person and that person's going to play ball with them financially, they can do something. That's the only way they would get Joey Bosa, and I still probably wouldn't do it, but they might. So there you go. So that's where we are. All right, that is the NFL side of things. Let me check the chat line really, really quickly, and I'm going to go into Steph, who every time you think Steph can't do anything more, he can do. Actually, a lot more. So I love Papa, man, but that's just the truth. I love him, love him, love him, love him, love him. But that's the truth. All right. Let me just make sure. How about Curry? There you go. Let's just transition to this whole thing. My God, was that amazing last night or what? How about them Warriors? Let's get into it. Amazing last night. The start was not amazing. Let me pop the box score up before I get to anything else here on John Lund Unleashed. And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Spent the first, we're an hour 11 into this thing. Are we really? My God. Yeah, I guess we are. Spent a lot of time on Bosa. Sorry. But let me give you the box score from last night. Just let me show you a couple of things that are interesting as we go box score hunting here. And we'll pop this up real quick. There we are. There's your box score from last night. Warriors ended up winning it 121-19 against the Nets, who are 21-41. Just tells you about the NBA. If you're not focused and the Warriors weren't at the beginning, you're going to get your doors blown off. They were down 27-5 in that game. There's the first quarter. They were down 35-15. They're down 20 at the end of the first quarter, down 22 at one point. Nets red hot out of the gate, 14-23, 5 of 11, but they hit like their first 7 or 8 shots. You can see Cam Johnson there was really, really good. And the Warriors weren't. They sucked. And then you move on to the second quarter. Okay, a little bit better, right? A lot better. 40-25, they outscore them. So they get back into this whole thing. First half, they're actually just down by 5, despite the fact that they were down 20 at the end of the first quarter. And then they just blow doors there. Okay, it's still close. First 3 quarters. All right, you're thinking to yourself, come on, what's going on here? Down 3, and then they go into the fourth quarter and take care of business. So there's the Warriors thing. We're going to give you Steph Curry in just a second, but there you go. There's the box. Steph Curry, absolutely brilliant. 12 of 20, 7 of 13, 40 points. They obviously don't win this game without Jimmy Butler in his 35 minutes, as you see there. 7 of 13, only took the 1-3, and I have no issue with that. The thing that's great about Jimmy offensively is 10 free throws. 29 of 32. You just don't see that from the Warriors. Conversely, Brooklyn went 16 of 18. Normally, it's the other way around. With Jimmy Butler, okay, we're not hitting shots. We're struggling. Let's settle everybody down. Jimmy gets to the free throw line. Jimmy makes said free throws. He and Steph combined went 19 of 19 from the free throw line and combined for 65 points. And I heard Steve Kerr say it again last night, superstar. And I didn't really think of Jimmy Butler as a superstar, but last night, again, superstar. Steph Curry, what do you say? 40 points last night. By the way, see the minus 16 by Steph's number? It's a hockey number, plus minus. Not a huge fan in the NBA of using it. You're relying on a lot of other people around you. And so Steph goes minus 16 last night, 40 points. Was Steph good last night or not? Well, plus minus says he wasn't. Yeah, he scored 40. He was good. So that's a flawed stat when it comes to the NBA, and people love to rely on it, but I don't think it's a great NBA stat. So let's play it. Let's look a little bit at Steph last night. This is the one, obviously. Here it is right here. Let's see, which one do I have here? Oh, it's right here. Here's the shot. Just when you think that Steph has done everything that Steph can do and Steph's got nothing left, and you're like, well, that's it. I mean, I don't think Steph has anything left. Does Steph have anything left? He does. Here it is. Just go off the court, run, get out of here, go. I mean, that's something we got to play that again. And who makes a turnaround 40-footer? And the crowd loves it. They're having their hearts ripped out. They're like, woohoo, give us more. I mean, I say this all the time, and I'm stumbling and stammering myself. I don't know what to say. A turnaround 40-footer. Like, you think to yourself as a Warriors fan, he's been on the Warriors since 2009. I've seen it all. I saw the double bang, bang in Oklahoma City. I've seen corner shots where Anthony Davis was falling on him in the playoffs. You've just seen it all. All the moves that Steph Curry has. You ever seen a 40-foot turnaround jumper and then have him go straight to the locker room after that? You just haven't seen it. We can have the GOAT debate, the this, the debate, that debate. Is he a point guard? I don't know. Whatever. Have every debate that you want. ESPN. Scream and yell your heads off and debate this and debate that. Here's what I know. From a pure entertainment standpoint, which is why I watch sports. I make a living at it, but why I watch sports is entertain me. Here we are now, Nirvana. Entertain me. Just entertain me, man. That's all I want. Steph Curry is one of the most entertaining players in the history of the game. Jordan was, but you can't leave your seat. Like when you're at a concert and you're watching and you're thinking to yourself, well, I can't leave because if I leave, my favorite song's going to come on. You can't leave a Warriors game. Now you can leave. What's great about it on TV, stop it, DVR, go get a sandwich, go get a beer, whatever you got to do. But if you're at the game, you don't know what Steph is going to do. And you've been a Warriors fan since 2009. You've seen every play. You think you've seen every shot. And then he does a turnaround 40-footer before the buzzer at the half and runs into the locker room. You've never seen it. You haven't because it hasn't been done. Nobody's done this. Nobody's done that. And listen to the crowd. That's at a Nets game. Now, listen, that's not a Knicks game. That's different. But even in a Knicks game, they're smart enough. The fans are smart enough to know when they've seen greatness. And he's one of those rare players. He's one of the rare players. And I saw it because I covered Michael Jordan with the Bulls in the 97 and 98 finals. I was assigned the Bulls locker room and I had a live mic on the Utah Jazz radio network. And I basically just followed Michael Jordan around. And Jazz fans wanted to win the championship so badly. So badly, they wanted respect. But when Jordan made plays, they couldn't help it. They would have Jazz gear on. I would see it, and they would jump up and down. And they would look at their friend and go, can you believe what he just did? And I felt like tapping him on the shoulder. That was against your team. He's ripping your heart out. And you're going, yes, sir, may I have another? Well, you can't have another when they rip your heart out, but you get the idea. You just can't help it. I've been at arenas. I've covered all sorts of different things. It is a rare sight that you're in the other team's arena and they're telling you more, please, more. There were chants of MVP. I think this is Danny Emmerman, our friend who we've had on the show, used to be at KMBR, Bay Area Sports Group, just does a great job covering the Warriors. There was MVP chants last night. I mean, MVP chants in Brooklyn. Now, again, Brooklyn is not New York. They love their Knicks, but the Knicks fans would still do that. They do it all over the league because you paid a ridiculous amount of money and you paid $20 for a beer and your kid said, can I have this and can I have that? And all of a sudden for tickets, it was $500 a piece, $1,000. You had to park for $50. There's that, all these concessions. So, I mean, you're in this Steph Curry game, I don't know, $1,300. And you're in your seat going, entertain me, man. Somebody entertain me. And it sure as hell ain't going to be the Nets. Cam Johnson, Cam Thomas. Great. Sure. Whatever. That's not worth my price of admission. I came here to see 30 do great things. And he has a turnaround 40-footer and then runs into the locker room like it's scripted in a movie. It's just like, are you kidding? What? It was just amazing. So that's what you can say about Steph. He scores 40 last night. They're down 27-5 in the first quarter, and they pulled the game out. And Jimmy Butler was great. And they keep using this term, and now I'm warming up to it, is because I see Jimmy Butler on an everyday basis, he's a superstar. He is. He's 100% a superstar, and he played the role again last night, and he gets the 10 free throws, hits all 10 of them, and you're thinking to yourself, there's just no – they are a contender, and I keep saying this. And, yeah, it's the Nets. I get it. It's the Nets. But they're a contender. That's the best thing I can say about about the Warriors is they are a contender. And especially the young teams, Memphis, Houston, even Oklahoma City, they don't want to see them walking into their arena. That's just what it is. By the way, I do have this, and this is, it's the fun part of the season when you can start doing this. NBA standings, but it's NBA playoffs. Do I have this or did I not post this? I had it. I saved it, but maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't put it in here. But now we're starting to see the NBA playoff picture. So when you go to, like, every morning, I'll look at the standings, and then right next to it, it's got the playoff picture. So they'd play Denver if the playoffs started today, which is one of my least favorite terms. If the playoffs started today, they don't. But we are coming down the stretch because there were less than 20 games left in the season. But now they've got a big home stretch. And here's what's really important right now. 4-1 on the road. Steph Curry was awesome. Jimmy Butler was great. Draymond Green is reinvigorated. We'll look at Podziemski's back. That's an issue. They got to get glass ankle Kuminga back at some point, don't they? And he's going to come off the bench because it doesn't make sense to start him. There's not enough shooting on the court if they start him. So he's going to come off the bench. But if they can acclimate him in there, I wouldn't want to see the Warriors. I just know that. And Steph putting on another show. I've seen it all from. So what did he just do? It was pretty incredible last night. So give me your thoughts on that. I'm going to do this Barkley rant in just a second. This is going to be next year. Get your popcorn ready. Charles Barkley and those guys on ESPN, they think that Pat McAfee's a pain in the ass. They have no idea. Just no idea. Let's see. Anything on Steph that you want to talk about? See, everybody's going on the chat and they're going on different things. And they're talking about food and they're trying to get me off my game here. And they might. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Okay. Just double checking. Anyway, great game by Steph last night. 27-5. They're down. They come back and win. Skill says, Jordan wanted to strip you of your manhood out there on the court to leave knowing that you were inferior. The big thing about Jordan that drove him, and this is world famous, but it's 100% the truth because I heard him say it on numerous occasions in covering him, is that his motivation, he did it. If anybody disrespected him, he used that. It's hard. Guys will tell you this, 162 baseball games, 82 NBA games. The NFL, you have to get up every single week or you're going to get your doors blown off, and every week matters. The NHL has a bunch of games, so it's the same kind of thing. But Jordan said this all the time, and if you've heard it, great. If you haven't, just bear through it for just a second. Or if you have, just bear through it for just a second. But he said his motivation was there was always somebody in the crowd that had never seen him play. And so there was this build up to Michael Jordan. I'm going to see the great Michael Jordan. And you see it all the time with Steph Curry. People holding signs. I came this far to see Steph or this or this or this. And another amazing thing about Steph that we just don't think about. I saw a video the other day, and they were leaving the hotel. It was in New York, and Steph had the faux fur on. And it's just amazing. It's like a rock band, right? And they walk out and they go out to the bus, and there's just all these adoring fans, and they're all just yelling Steph's name. And that's just what he lives with every day. And you're saying to yourself, well, that wouldn't be so bad. But it's, unless he's at home, it's just all the time. And he never missteps. He never misspeaks. He never, I'm going to jinx the guy. But, I've said this a million times. So if I haven't jinxed him by now, it's not happening. But that's just what he does. He always says the right thing. He always does the right thing. No moment is too big. He'll do every interview. It's very taxing after a while to have to do these kind of things. But Jordan's whole thing was there's going to be somebody in the crowd tonight that has been built up and built up and built up, and they saved their money and they traveled a long distance. And this is supposed to be the greatest player of all time. I got to give him something. Number one, he was like, I got to play, which is different. But he was like, I got to play, and I'm going to play my 45 minutes, again, different than nowadays. But he wanted to give him a show, and he wanted to win. But he, in the back of his mind, the thing that motivated him through 82 games, when a lot of times you could be like, the Bulls were going to the playoffs. The Bulls were the number one seed. Same with the Warriors back in the day. Steph Curry every night goes out there going, there is somebody who hasn't seen me play. There is somebody who doesn't think my greatness is all that. And then they're sitting in their seats and they can't help it. I'm rooting for the Nets. I'm rooting for the Knicks. I'm rooting for whatever the team is. And all of a sudden Steph has a turnaround 40-footer and then runs it off at the half, and they jump up and down, and they got Brooklyn stuff going on, and they forget for a second because they understand greatness, and they're sitting there witnessing the greatness. And you have to be stupid as a sports fan to sit there like this. I am not cheering for that. And then you're in the wrong arena. Because I'm not saying it was like the gold medal game against France, but that was a hell of a shot. And you just don't know minute by minute what Steph is going to give you. He might give you that on any given moment. He might dribble up the floor at the halfway, mid-court line and say, you're not guarding me at all. And just do it. He had to do that out of necessity, although he did have a couple of seconds still on the clock, but absolutely amazing. All right, so that's the Warriors side of things. Things are well, and now they're coming home. Now, this is not only this is interesting what he says here, and I'm going to explain what he says in a minute. But this is Charles Barkley on TNT, and they're joining ESPN next year, which I worked for ESPN for a number of years. They're tolerating Pat McAfee right now because he's making him money. The minute he doesn't, he's gone. There's going to be a battle. I don't think, although I want to see it, I don't think that Kendrick Perkins and Screamin' A and that whole crew is going to intertwine with inside the NBA. I think it would be a stupid idea. Inside the NBA, it is fun and has chemistry and all those things, and you don't want to mess with it. You just, if somebody's, oh, well, what if we put Stephen A once in a while? What if we put Perkins in there and they battle? Because that's what ESPN wants. They want these battles, right? I just think that you don't mess with a show that has chemistry. It's kind of like chemistry that you have with your significant other or people you may work with or whatever. Chemistry is very hard to come by. In radio, over 27 years, I worked in a number of different markets, and I can't remember how many shows I was on. And I can tell you that of all the shows that I did, there might have been 2 or 3 where I went, this is great, and this is chemistry, and this is going to work. And one obviously was with Greg. Had a couple of other ones, but it's just hard. You're around each other too much for chemistry not to work. You have this great show. I'm sure they want to sell the hell out of it, all those kind of things. They're not going to mess with it. So I very seriously doubt that Kendrick Perkins or anybody else is going to be on with these guys when they move over to ESPN. But here's Charles Barkley, because he sure as hell doesn't give a damn, but he's pissed off because all ESPN talks about is the Warriors and the Lakers, and I'll tell you why in a minute. And he wants to give some love to teams like the Cavs. So here is Charles Barkley last night and mentioning that next year they're going to be with the worldwide leader.
He know who he is. What's his name, Shaq?
Which one you talking about?
Kendrick Perkins.
Oh,
he said the Lakers. First of all, the Lakers have had a great 2 weeks. NBA season. That's because them fools on the other network, which we're gonna be working for next year. That's all they talk about. Let me tell y'all something.
Tell me something.
And first of all, I want all the smoke. I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard or anything like that.
I don't whistle when I walk by the graveyard.
Right.
I like that.
Hey,
one.
man.
I'm stealing that one.
The Lakers are doing great. Got a long way to go. But the reason the season's been going great for the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Y'all just want to talk about the Warriors and the Lakers. They're both doing great. Don't get me wrong. If I turn out to be wrong, I got no problem with that. But y'all are idiots because y'all talk about the Lakers and the Warriors all the time. Y'all don't. The Cleveland Cavaliers have won 12 straight games. The Oklahoma City got the MVP, and they are on fire. Y'all are talking about who's in second place. That's the reason I get pissed. Hey, the Lakers are doing great. I don't mind being wrong. The Warriors are doing great. But that's because you fools on other networks, which we're going to become fools next year. We'll be working on that network. But Oklahoma City.
No, maybe they're going to do it. Maybe they're going to put those guys all in the same room, and it's just going to be like fireworks ever, because that's what ESPN wants. But it sounds to me like Charles Barkley's like, no. And if you're an executive and you're contemplating it back and forth, I mean, it would get massive ratings. Maybe once a week Charles goes on with those guys. Maybe once a week Charles does some ESPN stuff. I have a sense that he doesn't want anything to do with what they do, which is pre-decided conversations. Kendrick Perkins takes this side and Screamin' A takes that side. That's why when you watch Bob Myers on there, Bob is just always like, oh my God, is this really what my life is? Is this really what my career has become? But he deals with it because they probably pay him a decent amount of money. So first and foremost, there's the great debate that will happen next year. Do you just keep inside the NBA the greatest show in sports, or do you intertwine it, which I think ESPN, I'm going to answer my own question. They want that. They want this kind of stuff constantly on ESPN. So I can see Barkley being on certain shows and not on other shows, Shaq being on certain shows, not other shows. I think they're going to throw Kendrick Perkins in there, which I think sucks, because I think the guys on TNT and on Inside the NBA, they just have this great chemistry that I wouldn't touch, but we'll see. And Kendrick Perkins is just a professional agitator is what he is. And he'll take any side. He'll say the dumbest things. He doesn't care. They're paying him enough money to buy his opinion. I think he's terrible. I think he has no credibility, and he'll say whatever ever just because there's, social media going on. Kendrick Perkins said this, and that's another peeve of mine. I don't care what he said. I don't care what the minute I see so-and-so said, I'm moving on. Unless it's somebody's opinion I respect, but I don't care. But the clickbait of a list, a Mount Rushmore, this guy said, that guy said, she said, he said. I don't care. I mean, it's all clickbait stuff, and that's what ESPN is into nowadays. Charles Barkley, they're just into fun. They're keeping it in proper perspective. They're two different ways. They can have whomever whoever the lead host is, whoever the sidekicks have been, it's just never worked for ESPN because they take it far too seriously. And those guys just have fun. So I don't know how they're going to intertwine it, but it's going to be fun to watch. Get your popcorn ready. Because Charles, you think ESPN thinks Pat McAfee's a pain? You wait. Because Charles doesn't need the money. Charles doesn't need the spotlight. He's going to say whatever he wants. And ESPN is very fond of memos. And ESPN is very fond of, here's what the numbers say. Like, there's a reason why, as Charles said, and let me get to what he said from a content standpoint. He said that he's pissed off because everybody's talking about the Lakers and the Warriors and nobody's talking about the Cavaliers. Yeah, and because the Lakers and the Warriors equal ratings, and ESPN every single day, puts out a memo of here's what the numbers say. So if you think, long story short is, essentially what ESPN would tell you every day in the content that they would provide and the numbers they would provide and the research they would provide is, if you think you're sick of talking about Dak Prescott or LeBron James or the Cavaliers or the Warriors or the Cowboys or whatever the short, small rotation that the ESPN does, they say you're not, because they do all the research. So they want you to quote unquote, play the hits. They want it over and over and over and over. And you're like, oh my God, how much can we do this? Oh, I want to kill myself. Their research shows that you think you're done talking about something or you don't want to do it, but you talk about it again and again and again. And so that's going to be an interesting thing with Charles is, are they just going to let Charles talk about what he wants to talk about? Or is it going to be the Warriors and the Lakers down your throat? Because the ESPN is going to tell Charles, well, look at the numbers. And he's going to go, I don't care. But that's why the Cavaliers, that's nice. Donovan Mitchell, they've never won anything. The Cavaliers with LeBron, one thing. The Cavaliers, the way they are, they're really good. Oklahoma City, they're really good. But if you look at the numbers, you just purely look at the ratings, and I don't even have to put them in front of me. Let's say the top two teams in the league are playing. The Cavaliers are playing Oklahoma City on a Saturday night, and the Lakers are playing the Warriors on a Saturday night. I'm going to say 5-1, if not higher, maybe 10-1. Everybody's watching the Lakers and the Warriors, and that's what it's about for these networks. They want the most eyes, which is the most advertising dollars, which is the most compelling thing, and then the topics around LeBron and Steph, and because they're very similar. Are they too old? Can they do it again? Blah, 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 versus saying, oh, the Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell and, and Mobley. And I mean, look, they're a good team. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shooting free throws. Awesome. Like they're not established. And what you want is the hardcores are going to watch. This is just a little bit behind the curtain. In sports, and when you decide what you want to talk about, the hardcores are going to watch a lot of time, most of the time. They're going to watch. So you got them. They're hook, line, and sinker. Oklahoma City, Cleveland, they're going to do it. The casual fan, the less into it, it's a Saturday night, and your wife wants to go out, but you say to her, hey, we got to sit somewhere where there's at least there's a TV within the distance that I can see because I want to see Lakers Warriors. Nobody says that about the Cavs in Oklahoma City if you don't live there. Hey, honey, I know we got to go out on Saturday night. We were going to do this really nice steakhouse, but I got to see the Cavs and the Thunder. The what? The what? I'm divorcing you. I guess no. But if you say, hey, man, LeBron and Curry are playing against each other, I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to do this, Lakers, Warriors, she'll even say, you know what? Okay, we'll sit within distance of a TV set. She may not say we're going to sit in the bar and watch it, but yeah, we'll accommodate you because I know LeBron and I know Curry and I know the Warriors and I know the Lakers. We're not going to alter our dinner plans for Oklahoma City and Cleveland. Not happening. That's the difference. And Charles knows it, but it just pisses him off because he knows next year those ESPN execs are going to go, excuse me, Mr. Barkley, I know that, but the numbers say, the ratings say, the Q rating says, and he's just going to, he's going to blow his mind because he knows. Like at TNT, they're like, you talk about whatever you want. You're great. Numbers are great. But at ESPN, they send out gobs and gobs of research every single day. It's going to be fun. And if they put Kendrick Perkins on that show, it's going to be fun. So there's my NBA and Warriors side of the discussion. Thank you for joining us. We still have some Giants and random things to talk about as well. Want to reset a big poll today. We're an hour, 34 minutes into the show today. It's John Lund Unleashed. Please make sure that you're following on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed. Get those likes up. That is very nice for the algorithm, they tell me. Also, make sure you check out johnlundunleashed.com. I have the Nosa on Bosa going on right there, so you can check out that. I do, by the way, that's a great term, all the smoke. I love that. That's a great podcast, by the way, but all the smoke's a great term. I agree with you 100%. And then also Bay Area Sports Collective. Now, you see up there at the top of the chalkboard, BASG. I was early. Hadn't had enough coffee. BASC, Bay Area Sports Collective. We're there as well. Great piece in the Chronicle that you can check out. Myself, John Lund Unleashed, Tom Tolbert Show, and Polly Mack and Creative Tony. They're doing a show as well. So we're all right there at Bay Area Sports Collective. Make sure on YouTube that you're following us there as well, because I post in both places. Plus, not only do we do a show here at 8 a.m. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. on Saturday, but all throughout the day, we post things like Story of the Day. So I have a separate video out there from yesterday and wrote the story at johnlundunleashed.com. And I released the Nosa on Bosa video as Story of the Day this morning at about 5 or 6 a.m. Pacific time. So you want to make sure that you get the alert so that you can see stuff, put out all sorts of stuff during the day. So make sure that you hit me up, John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and Bay Area Sports Collective. Also want to say good morning to people watching on X at John Lund Radio, watching on Instagram at John Lund Radio, on Twitch and Facebook as well. So whatever way you want to watch is great. We'd love to have you in the chat room, and welcome. If you're new to the chat, please say hello. We got a great community here. So at John Lund Radio for that, and Bay Area Sports Collective. So I just wanted to say good morning to everybody as we've talked Niners, we've talked Warriors, we've talked Steph's greatness, we've talked the Bosa boys, preview for free agency on Monday, Larry Krueger and I on Sunday night at a yet undetermined time. That's another reason why you got to have your alerts on. Not exactly sure when we're going to do it, but we're going to do it Sunday night. So please get your alerts on for that. So anyway, that's what's going on. Appreciate you hanging out. All the new people coming over from the Bay Area Sports Collective, and you saw the piece in the Chronicle, and you're checking us out. Thank you. Thank you. Please tell all your friends. Please give us a subscribe, and please hit us up on Bay Area Sports Collective. We always hit the chalkboard. So here's where we are. Bay Area Sports Collective, Nosa to Bosa, pros and cons, free agency Monday, Krueger and I Sunday. Can they spend? Yes. Curry Road Arenas just dominating the place, ripping out the Nets fans, and there's like 8 of them. They were down by 22 in the first quarter. They were down 20 at the end of the first quarter, and Steph scores 40. Barkley and ESPN had just played that for you, and we're at the Verlander portion of the show. So let's give you a couple of things on the Giants as we are at this part of the show. Let me throw a little Verlander up for you. Let's see. Oh, I got that lineup thing. Let's see. Where is the recap of there it is. So there is the Warriors. Thanks to Jeff, always recaps the stuff, and he does a really good job. Follows me, really good guy. Jung-Hoo Lee has looked good this spring. That is encouraging. I always tell you about spring. Don't overreact, but you know what? He's looked pretty good, so that's good. Matt Chapman, home run. Mike Yastrzemski, home run. Casey Schmidt, I've got his cards. It would be nice that he could cash some of those in. Would be nice. But the reason I popped that up there, Justin Verlander at 42, 4 innings pitched, an earned run, 4 strikeouts. Now, look, I don't know what Justin Verlander's working on. If in 4 innings he had 8 earned runs, it wouldn't make any difference to me. But he looks like he's doing well. He's got the neck injury, all those things. I made people mad yesterday. A bunch of people, it's spring training. Can't you be positive? My God, man. So what I did is I saw some of Verlander's pitches yesterday, struck out a couple of guys that I saw, and I said, boy, Justin Verlander is going to make some team happy, some contender happy at the trade deadline. And then Giants fans got all mad at me. Just joking. Jeez, relax. But he is. But relax. But he is. But relax. Camilo Duvall looking good. An inning pitch, 2 strikeouts. Luke Casey, whatever. So good news on Duvall. Good news on Verlander. That's the biggest news. I don't take too much about spring training and home runs and what certain guys are working on stuff. Stay healthy, stay healthy, stay healthy. So they win 7-3 over the White Sox. Verlander, the big story coming out of that. That is good news. Yesterday, it looked like this was the Giants starting lineup, and that looks pretty damn close. Now it's Verlander. This is yesterday's lineup. It's going to be obviously Logan Webb, but that's pretty close to the opening day lineup. Wade, Adames, Lee, Chapman, Ramos, Bailey, Flores. Don't love at DH, but maybe you can go back in the time machine to a couple of years ago when he hit 23 home runs. Tyler Fitzgerald, I've said this a million times. I'd rather have him be the super U, but he's going to be the starting second baseman to start the year. So starting lineup outside of the pitcher, that's probably what they did yesterday, and they look pretty good. Now, here's what's interesting for the lineup today for me. There's one name. There's actually two names that intrigue me here, and we can't stop talking about them. Brett Wisely's not that name. Lamb's not that name. VR's not that name. McRae, Stassi, Koss, which he wears 85, and I saw him against the Dodgers. He looked pretty good. Two names on that list right there. Matos is number one with a bullet. He's turned into like the modern day Brandon Belt. Like, it's just everybody gets divided by it. He's having a decent spring, a good spring, not a great spring. And every time he gets a hit, I get all these, everybody hits me up on social media. This is Matos' year. This is Matos' year. This is Matos' year. I mean, he had a week, was it last year, where he had 16 RBIs in like a week. And it was like, look, the guy has shown it. I just don't know. I don't know. I mean, at times he'll rip the ball and has this whippy bat that I'm just like, man, this guy's going to be good. But I just don't know. And Ramos is going to be in left, and Lee's going to be in center. So is he going to play? Is he going to out-duel Mike Yastrzemski for right? The organization loves the guy. Would he be a good fourth outfielder? I mean, I guess, but I'd rather have him get consistent at bats at AAA every single time. He seems to me, and this can change, and everybody loves him, and everybody loves to throw this in my face every time he hits one out or looks good. At this point, maybe it'll change, but he's kind of a 4A player. He's a really nice AAA player, and he just hasn't been consistent enough for me. So Matos is really intriguing. Maybe he hits a couple of home runs, and people will hit me up on social media again, at John Lund Radio, and say, you see, Matos. Yeah. I hope he does well, but it's just I just haven't seen it consistently enough. And every single time he does something different, so he has a good game, everyone just loses their mind and thinks he's going to be the next Willie Mays. And it's like, let's slow down. And then Encarnacion, this guy looks like he has power on power on power, and he's had a really good spring. But I told you, and I did a piece on this, temper your expectations out of spring. I love Encarnacion's power. He's a right-handed hitter, which I like in this ballpark versus a lefty. Could he be the full-time DH? Yeah, I mean, I think one of the positions, and there isn't many that are open on this team, but Wilmer Flores is getting older. You could eat his contract. It's not prohibitive. You don't want to compound the problem. If Wilmer Flores is the guy he was last year, adios. I mean, it's just that you can't have him on the team. So Encarnacion is a guy, he's a really big guy, and if he was the DH or rotating and play a little outfield, not great. But if Encarnacion will show that kind of power in the majors on a consistent basis, that's one rare position that's open on the Giants. And yeah, he could get it. But you got to remember about spring training. Lots of guys are great in spring training. Doesn't mean they're going to make the team or change minds. The Giants came into spring training knowing probably 90% of the roster and where they were. Encarnacion and the DH spot is one spot where if he is rocking it and really good, he could win that job, and it could make Wilmer Flores pack his bags. So Encarnacion is someone to watch today. Matos is always somebody to watch. I acknowledge his talent, but I say this all the time. There's so much talent in sports in general, and a guy wouldn't have gotten to this point, or a woman wouldn't have gotten to the point where they are with their success if they couldn't do it every once in a while. Sports at the professional level is about consistency. If there are 5 or 6 baseball games a week, a really great player should have 5 or 6 games, should have 4 or 5 great games. Maybe the one where it's like, but you got to be consistently great. Steph Curry isn't great every once in a while. He's great every night. Now, that's a poor comparison when it comes to Matos, but he's got to be consistent. He's got to be Matt Chapman consistent. That's what he's got to be. And every once in a while, where everybody floods my social media with, oh, look at what Matos did. That's great. That's great that he can do it once or twice a week. That's not a major league player. A major league player is like a 90%er. Put it in the bank. I'm fond of a term. When I look at a team, any professional team, I like to use a term, what can I put in the bank? In other words, what can I 100% rely on? And if I look at the Giants and I talk about the if factor with the Giants, I can rely on Chapman. I can rely on Adames. I can rely on Bailey defensively. I can rely on Webb. I can rely on Ryan Walker. Yeah, maybe Ramos. If he's first half Ramos. Lee had a 641 OPS. I love what he's doing in spring. Yastrzemski, defensively, I can rely on him. Put that in the bank. Offensively, he's inconsistent. Lamont Wade Jr., don't know. Tyler Fitzgerald, don't know. Other than Webb, don't know. Even though Verlander was great and Robbie Reyes looked really good in spring, I don't know. Great spring outings, great spring numbers don't always, and a lot of times don't at all, translate to the regular season, just like bad spring training numbers don't always relate to the season as well. I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago, up and down. I put a bunch of examples of guys who got off to great starts, sucked in spring training, guys who sucked in spring training and were great. It runs the gamut. So as long as they don't get hurt, I don't really care. Get in your work, don't get hurt. That's the bottom line for spring training. Get in your work, don't get hurt. So we'll see once the season starts. But there's a lot of ifs on this team, and Matos is one of them. He's an if. Encarnacion is an if. He would be huge. Now, if Flores comes in, and I like Flores, and he's hitting, and that's all great, I'm just nervous with his age, and he looked so bad last year that's maybe a position that's up for debate. So that's where you are. Verlander. Let's go to Vlad Jr. money. This is interesting. So this comes out, and if you watch the show on a regular basis or listen on Apple, Spotify, wherever it's your favorite podcast, you'll know that what I said right when Vlad said, I'm not going to talk anymore. Vlad Jr. of the Blue Jays said, I'm not talking anymore. Turned down the deal. That's it. And what I said that next day was, because the Giants should be so desperate, I don't care if it's Bryce Eldridge, send him to Toronto. As I tell you, lottery tickets. That's what prospects are. They're lottery tickets. Some hit, most of them don't. So they're lottery tickets. You want Bryce Eldridge? Fine. You want Birdsong? I wouldn't want to trade him, but okay. You want Harrison? Wouldn't want to trade him, but okay. We always overvalue our own. So I'd trade a lot of guys. You want Luciano and see if you can resurrect him at his fifth different position? Go ahead. Right? Go ahead. I don't think that Major League Baseball thinks much of him, but okay. Whatever. Vlad Guerrero is a guy who's in his prime at 25, 26 years old, can hit the ball out of this ballpark or any other ballpark. You haven't had any luck. I know that he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, but if you're at the organization that Buster Posey thinks this is, whatever Toronto didn't give Vlad, I would give Vlad. That's how they need a first baseman. They need power. They need a guy to build around. They need somebody that gives credibility to the organization. So when Toronto wouldn't make the offer to Vlad Guerrero, I said to myself, the Giants should. Buster should pick up the phone. But that would be tampering, Lund. Please. That's what Buster Posey should have done. Now, maybe he did, and Toronto said, nope, we're going to do it. Well, Vlad came out yesterday and said the number he was looking for was $600 million. $600 million. Now, remember, Ohtani's at 700. It's deferred. I've gone over the deferred thing with you. It's not like a credit card. I'm not going to do it here because we've done way too many numbers on the show today. But deferred money is the way to go. It's not a credit card. You're not paying. It gives you more cap space, all these kind of things. Go back. I wrote about it on the blog extensively a couple of weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago by now. But it's basically entitled What the Giants Have to Do or They're going to Continue to Lose, something like that. But you can check it out. Vlad Guerrero makes a ton of sense for me. He's not the greatest defender. I understand that. But you've got to get somebody in here that sends a message that you're legit and you're real. So if it's $600 million to Vlad Guerrero, I'm in. Now, it's easy for me to say because I'm sitting in a chair in a nice, lovely studio on a Friday hanging out with you, which I absolutely love, and it's not my $600 million. Now, garlic fries are going up, dogs are going up, tickets are going up, everything's going up. Beers, I didn't know beers could be this expensive, but they're going up. Everything's going to go up if they sign Vlad. So somehow, in a little bit of a way, I'm contributing, but I wouldn't care. $600 million, whatever. It's the going rate. And it's a double-digit contract, and yeah, he's a little bit bigger, and it could blow up in your face and all these kind of things. But I need to remind the Giants every once in a while of this, your major market. You're not the A's, which, by the way, the A's signed Lawrence Butler to like a $66 million deal. What the hell's gotten into the A's? Is John Fisher drunk? Yes. But still, Brent Rooker got signed. It's not to massive deals, but still, Severino got signed. Like, oh, my God, what are the A's doing? They're spending money. Who knew that going from Oakland to Sacramento would have you spending money? But anyway, I digress. Lawrence Butler gets a deal. Now, they're not spending like the Giants are spending. I'm not saying that. They've never given out a Willie Adames kind of a contract. But I'm just simply saying that he came out with a $600 million number. Again, I'm calling Toronto if I'm Buster Posey and saying, man, that's a really big number. You guys probably don't want to pay that. You want to trade? You've got to call him. And I don't care if it's $600 million. But that's what they said it was. And yeah, it's outrageous. But every number is outrageous. Aren't we desensitized by it by now? Like, whatever. So there's that. The screaming $100 million. Now, this goes back to Charles Barkley. Charles is going to be with ESPN. Inside the NBA is going to be with ESPN. I hope and pray that they don't put screaming A on that show. I'm really split on him as a general rule. And again, I put this on the cover today. Where's the cover of the show today? There's the cover of the show today. Big Shot, which is Curry. Big Mouth, which is screaming A. And then Only One Bosa. I told you, Nosa on Bosa, but they're screaming A in the middle of it. There's two sides of him to me. First of all, when I first started covering the NBA, I worked I was in Utah, then I moved to Portland, Oregon, and I was the pre-half and post guy for the Portland Trailblazers. And so for my pregame show, they used to do shoot-arounds and stuff, so you could get a couple of minutes with players there. But I would have to get an opposition, so it was sponsored, and so you had to call somebody. So I would just randomly take the NBA Blue Book, which had a bunch of numbers in it, and I just, whatever team it was, I would call people who I knew I could get 2 or 3 minutes with, and I would tape that, and that's what it was. So when it came to Philadelphia and it came to the 76ers, Stephen A. Smith worked for the Philadelphia Inquirer, and you could just call him at home, and he'd pick up, and he wasn't demonstrative when he did it, and he didn't blow your eardrums out when he did it. And he'd say, hey, Stephen A., it'd be great to have you on. Every single time the Blazers played the 76ers, I called him, and every single time he picked up and said yes. And that's been a long time. So anyway, that's the guy I remember, and then he blew up and blew up and blew up. Now, again, it goes back to what I said about ESPN. They do gobs of research. They spend tons of money on research. They send out a Gone with the Wind Bible type of a thing every day on one of the hot stories. Here's what the numbers say. Here's what you should be talking about, this, that, and the other. And if you don't talk about those kind of things, then they're going to call you and go, or text you and go, why'd you go off the board here? Like, these are the things that are hot today. We showed you that. We gave you the numbers. We basically produced your show for you. Why aren't you doing that? And that's how they feel about it. So Stephen A. must resonate with listeners, with viewers, with people. He must be immensely popular, because you're not going to give $20 million a year to a guy who's not popular. They just don't do it. ESPN has an upper class, a lower class, very small middle class. The year they're getting paid a lot of money there, or you're kind of a gopher. I mean, there is no real middle ground when it comes to that place. So the fact that they're giving him $20 million while laying off a bunch of other people, and they give it to Troy Aikman, and they give it to Joe Buck, and they give it, there's a handful, they give it to Mike Greenberg for some reason. So there's a handful of guys that they give it to. He must resonate with tons of people. Me personally, I can't get to the remote fast enough when he's about ready to scream or yell. He's disinterested in what anybody else says. Like, if you watch any of their shows with him on it, which I rarely do, he'll be kind of like this, just waiting to talk. Like, he's in sleep mode, like, and then all of a sudden he'll wake up. That is preposterous, and just go crazy. It doesn't work for me, but for somebody it must work. So I'm not hating on the guy, because if you in media can get in today's landscape, can get a 5-year, $100 million contract, good for you. It's never worked for me. I've never understood it, but ESPN does all this research. Believe me, a ton of it. And if they didn't think he was worth it, they wouldn't pay it. They're flat out. So they pay a handful of guys a bunch of money, and then they pay a lot of people no money, and then they have a little bit of a middle class there, but you either make a lot of money or nothing. And he's at the top of the heap, and it works. And then next year, like I said, I played the Charles Barkley stuff a little bit earlier for you from TNT, and he was basically ripping ESPN, and specifically Kendrick Perkins, for only talking about the Lakers and the Warriors. And again, that's the ESPN way. I told you that. They do the research. They want you talking about the Lakers and the Warriors. You start talking about the Cavs or Oklahoma City, they're like, producers in your ear, let's get it back to the Lakers and the Warriors, please. Thank you. Like, right back in your earpiece. Whoa. We haven't talked to LeBron in 32 seconds. Please bring it back to LeBron. Thank you. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. No, that's enough about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He just shoots free throws. Back to Steph Curry, please. I mean, this is what they do. Not like that. But you get the idea. There's an earpiece in their ear, and they're telling you what to talk about. But anyway, he's not my guy, but I do respect the fact that he got $20 million. He developed this brand. It's absolutely worked. And here's the crazy part. One of the reasons I wanted to bring this up. I'm not big in the political shows, but I'll flip channels every once in a while and I'll catch them. And Screaming A has become a popular figure on political shows. And because of his style, his substance, his style over substance style, and because he says things in a demonstrative fashion and louder than you, I've worked with talk show hosts like this, where I'll just interrupt them every once in a while and say, because you're talking louder does not make you more right. But some people do subscribe to that theory that if somebody says something in a authoritative way and they actually say it in a demonstrative fashion, that's more believable. And that's what he's done. He's fostered a whole career off of saying things louder and faster, even though that they're inaccurate. And he's doing that on the political trail. And it's so fascinating because these people don't know how to handle it. And this is how, politics and sports, in terms of the way that they're talked about, in the style that they're talked about, are very similar. It's just, I can't stand politics because it pisses me off. And so I just can't watch it for very long. So I'm not big into politics. I know what's going on. I do a lot of reading, but the shows just drive me crazy. But they're patterned after each other. Sports and political talk are very similar. But they've never seen anybody like that, because he goes in there and he just talks louder and faster than anybody. And a lot of times it's just intimidating for him. And then a couple of weeks ago, I saw a piece that said Screaming A can run for president. And after I fainted, I woke back up and I went, did I dream that? Nightmare that? No. Look, if Schwarzenegger can be the governor, and I don't want to get into politics, and Trump can be the president, then certainly Screaming A can. I mean, it's a scary proposition, but I keep seeing him on these political shows. And this is not a political show if you're new. This is all we're going to talk about. We're not political. But I was like, wow, he could run. So anyway, we'll see. The story continues. So again, it started with, I used to call Screaming A all the time when the 76ers were the opposition. He would answer the phone. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't screaming. He was a normal guy. The interview went great. He was very well respected as a writer. And then he's just blown up. I mean, it's an amazing American success story. I will never discredit someone, especially in media, for being successful, because clearly he has found a niche that needed to be filled. And it's been at a really high level. Personally, I like the comedy of a Barkley or a Shaq, or, it's just everybody's style is different. And then when they put Screaming A on everything, like boxing and all these different things, it spreads him so thin. He knows basketball. But outside of that, it's iffy. But look, he's done a good job. So again, anyway, 5 years, $100 million. 5 years, $100 million. Crazy. All right. So there you go. What else? We got anything else that we did not hit today? Because I'll be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. But I want to make sure. I did see Mike. Mike was a little bit late today, but I have no issue with that. Gone fishing. There you go. That's the bucket hat. We have all the gear. I want to know what Mike, the quality of the bucket hat. It's a great looking hat, and you look really good in it. I bet the women were all over you with that hat. But I appreciate you. You can go to the store. It's on my page at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. I have the brand new the brand new trucker on right now. Very high quality, by the way. Very nice. It came in the mail from me yesterday. The trucker hat. Just takes a few days. Not bad. And you can go to John Lund Unleashed and you can check it out. JohnLundUnleashed.com. It's there. Right at the bottom, there's all the merch, or you can just go to the YouTube page as well and check it out there. But yeah, lots of good stuff. What else do I have today? Do make sure, as I always say, click right there, Riopel. My good friends, there's Dr. Riopel, Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center, the fine sponsor of John Lund Unleashed. If you click right there, I'm not kidding you. This stuff about the testosterone, and again, it's not Barry Bonds. I know the voice person said I was all juiced up today, but they do blood work. These are doctors. This is legit, and you're going to feel a ton better. Maybe you're sluggish, maybe you're tired, maybe you got the spare tire, maybe you're just texting on a little bit of brain fog or whatever it happens when you get older. Testosterone treatments are the answer. Dr. Riopel does them the best. He'll make sure that everything is aligned, that your T is perfect. You got low T, and you've been told that by your doctor. Testosterone treatment's the way to go. And you're not going in weekly. He's going to do one fell swoop, and you're going to be good for about 5-6 months. It's absolutely great. So click on that right there, that QR code, and make an appointment with Dr. Riopel. Tell him I sent you over. They're right there in San Ramon. I'm telling you, if you're not close to San Ramon, totally worth it. Great deal on it, too, the testosterone treatments. And then my wife, she is doing the stem cell, which is amazing. I told you this before. In our freezer, there's all these contraptions and ice packs and all these different things that she uses for her shoulder and her back and her elbow. And she's had the stem cell done. Game changer. Every day she says to me, have I told you how much better I feel? Game changer. Absolutely. So she did the stem cell. Awesome. It's really worked for her pain. Highly recommend. So right there, just click on it. Click on it right there, and you can check it out. Click right through Riopel, and that will get you right to the website right there on your phone. Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center. Check them out. And then they do all the regular stuff that you'd expect from a cosmetic surgery and a laser center as well. So you can check them out for all your needs. You'll look better. You'll be happier. And you go, thanks, Lund. So there you go. So again, click on that QR code and you are good to go. Stem cell for the guys. Also, stem cell for the guys. My wife does it. You can do that. And the testosterone treatments that Dr. Riopel is doing right now. Check it out right there. Click on that code and you will be good to go. So thanks to Dr. Riopel and the Riopel Cosmetic Surgery and Laser Center for sponsoring the show today. All right. Anything else? We have gone through the chalkboard. We have hit everything. We were busy today, though. We had to do it. Remember, tomorrow, 10 a.m., I will be here. Sunday night, I will be with Krug. I know there's a Tolbert show today, so you got to make sure that you are following Bay Area Sports Collective. I don't know what time Tommy is on today. I should be better, and I should know. Holly Mack and Creative Tony. That's the Bay Area Sports Collective, along with me and Tom. So make sure that you're subscribing there. Anything else on the comment line that I need to hit up? Nosa to Bosa. Yeah, do people hate that? Because I thought of it. And then I thought to myself, people are just going to hate that. But I don't care. Nosa to Bosa. That's how I think. Nosa to Bosa. There's Mike. Yeah, the bucket hat it's fire on you, bro. The bucket hat. Mike was the first person. I ordered something. My wife ordered something. She ordered, by the way, the cup that all the women have, that they've got to have one in their car, and it fits right in her little cup holder there. So it's very, very nice. Nosa to Bosa. But there you go. There's Mike with the hat tip. The bucket hat is fire right now. Anything else? Yeah, I do have that piece. I can show that to you. Like that article that came out, you guys are competing with KMBR. We compete with everybody. I mean, that's kind of the thing is nowadays, that's kind of the point is you can go anywhere for this stuff. And we think that with what we're going to do, and we're going to add some stuff with the teams, and there's probably going to be more shows and all that kind of stuff. But starting with me and Polymac and Tommy, we think it's going to be great. Behind the scenes, Jeremiah Crow used to run KNBR. Daniel Ogden was one of our producers. Creative Tony. It's a really great group of guys. There's a piece in the Chronicle that ran yesterday about it. Not my picture, but Tommy's. I know how it goes. It's just the way it goes. But anyway, yeah, it's a great piece you need to check out. Anything else that we missed today? Let's see. I think we got everybody today, right? I'm getting a lot of grief for Nosa. I get it. Nosa, Bosa, Nosa. If you missed that whole piece, we did a bunch of stuff and we flashed a bunch of very fancy video and pictures for you today. So just go back to the beginning of the show or wait for about 5 minutes after the show, after we shut her down today on a Friday. I will post the chapters and you can check that out as well at John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure you subscribe. Sorry to keep saying this, but we're getting more and more great traffic on the website. So I really appreciate that. But I was up late last night and wanted to make sure that you could enjoy this today. So not only did we talk about it, but that's a totally different video that I did on 49ers Should Say Nosa to Bosa. Hello? Is this thing on? Nosa to hello? Nosa to Bosa? Hello? Anyway, that's a whole separate video, so you can watch that. I do a breakdown of it there. The pros for Joey. The Bosa's won it. He's had a great career, and he's only 29. There's Richard Sherman, where he interviews Nick Bosa on the Richard Sherman podcast, and Nick wants it. Joey last year, in his last year with the Chargers, would be cool to play with brother Nick. And then there are your cons. Cons, those are your top 10 edge rushers. There's Nick at number 4. And all the way down at 72 is Joey, who played in 14 games, but only half the snaps. And 60s are not good. So Joey Bosa's in the 60s. The money portion of it, blah, blah, blah. So I go over the whole thing. Nosa for Bosa. And I got 2 fancy videos. There's my video. There's Richard Sherman. There's all sorts of charts. You'll be impressed. That's at johnlundunleashed.com. So make sure that you check that out with some of your day today, because I've commandeered a lot of your day, but why not just a little bit longer? Why not just a little bit more? All right. All right. I think that's it, man. I think unless we have questions, comments, or thoughts, I think that's going to do it for a Friday. We do not leave you for the entire weekend, though. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. I will be back on Sunday night with Larry Krueger and the Krug Show. I know. See, I'm getting a lot of Nosa Bosa stuff. I get it. I don't know about his Nosa. I just saw that. Nosa to Bosa, Nosa to Bosa. See, there you go. Pine Needle's like, I don't care what you say. I don't care. Bring the Bosas together. The Brosas. Oh, there you go. Bring the Brosas. A Brosa. Hey, what's up, Brosa? That's Tim Ryan. What's up, bro? What's up, Brosa? What else? All right, that'll do it. Oh, somebody likes it. Does somebody like it? Hold on a minute. Nosa Bosa. Love it. There you go. It's all it takes is one, and then I'm good. It's like golf shots. I just hit one good one, and I'm good. I just wanted one person to, Let's see. Okay. Oh, let me show that to you really quickly. Let me do this really fast. You'll notice that this is what I do. So this is the piece in the Chronicle with Tommy on it. 3 well-known Bay Area sportscasters have come together to launch the Bay Area Sports Collective, an all-digital podcast network focused on delivering fresh sports commentary like mine. It's in the Chronicle. And then I get a tiny, see at the bottom there, right above from SF Chronicle, Tom Tolbert, Paul McCaffrey, and John Lund debut their new sports podcast network. This is episode 81, but you get the idea. And there's what it looks like. So you know that you're at the right place. That logo, that big B right there, that's where you are. So there you go. John Lund Unleashed, Tom Tolbert Show, Polymax Particles. Make sure that you're checking all of the shows out. I think that's it. Oh, real quick, I'm just looking at stuff I may have missed. I've told you this before if you're a regular watcher. The odds that Vegas comes out with, they're just porn to basically get you to click on it. It's complete clickbait. If you look at actually, because now this is just so out of control. So-and-so got released. So-and-so asked for a trade. DK Metcalf, Trey Hendrickson, like anybody, baseball, football, basketball, their next team odds. These are never accurate, by the way. Nobody follows up on it, but they're never accurate. But the betting business loves it because it gets you to click on it and it gets you to talk about it. But they would never throw these odds out because they'd lose just a ton of money. So there's Joey. But I gave you the odds. You know what's weird, though? I've given you the odds. I've given you the numbers. I've given you why Nosa on Bosa. And yet, for some weird reason in the back of my mind, I think Mama Bosa is going to go, Joey, you go play for the Niners. I don't know. I get a weird feeling that it's going to happen, even though it makes no sense. Makes no sense for Joey. Makes no sense for the Niners. I don't think the finances match up at all. But for some weird reason, I think it's going to happen. So there you go. All right. Thanks to those watching on Instagram today. Thanks for those on X and Twitch. John Lund Unleashed. Please subscribe on the YouTube channel, Bay Area Sports Collective YouTube channel. Make sure that you're subscribing. We have a website as well at Bay Area Sports Collective. You got to check that out as we're developing the website. And thank you for watching on Facebook. Everybody have a tremendous Friday. Thank you for tuning in. TGIF to everybody. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Stuff will be happening. And then Sunday night with Larry Krueger and the Krug Show. Every weekday, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. with John Lund Unleashed, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. Have a great Friday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!